a 6-game road trip that saw them get off to a fast start, almost win every game, but, well, not quite. The Mets are back in the big town. 4 games at home before they head out on the road again and trying to take advantage of the energy of the big city to get themselves on a winning streak at Citi Field. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Milwaukee Brewers. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you tonight. The Mets open a 2-game series against the Milwaukee Brewers. The big question coming into today was, will Terry Collins make a change with his closer after Frank Francisco had a very bad weekend in Miami?
And the answer is he will not. After yesterday's game with Frank Francisco, of course, you watched it. He had problems with the strike zone and the home plate umpire. He thought that 5 of the pitches he threw to John Buck were strikes. The coaching staff and Terry Collins went over those pitches, thought a lot of them were close, and I think the reality is that they paid him to be the closer here, giving him a 2-year contract. Terry thinks if he reorganizes the bullpen and tries other people that might not be able to get the job done, then the whole relief staff will be in a flux. So Francisco is still the closer for the Mets.
He was not charged with a blown save yesterday. Manny Acosta was. A sacrifice fly and a grand slam doomed the Mets. Now the Mets take on the Brewers, a team that won the National League Central last year, but they are really struggling.
Well, that team that won 96 games and also had Prince Fielder playing first base, of course, they lost them to Detroit. They have not been hitting. They have not been pitching. They're ranked 15th in ERA in the National League and only 13th and hitting in the National League. They're only hitting .222 with runners in scoring position. They've had 3 serious season-ending injuries to their starter, Chris Narveson, their shortstop, Alex Gonzalez, and their young first baseman, Matt Gamble. Ricky Weeks, the second baseman, has not hit. He's on the interstate. So this is a club trying to find its new identity without Prince Fielder.
Weeks is out tonight with a sore wrist. Carlos Gomez, the former Met, on the DL with a hamstring, and so it goes for the Brewers. As for the Mets, yesterday, highs and lows in Miami. Mets took the lead in the ninth, only to see it get away. They'll try for better things tonight back at home.
That was good.
Why is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. By AT&T, rethink possible. By Budweiser. By Partners Executive Transportation, driving you around the world. And by the all-new Mazda CX-5 with 35 highway miles per gallon. Hitting the road, take the Mets with you this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv today to see every Mets out-of-market game live online and on your favorite devices in HD quality. Visit Mets.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv. Baseball everywhere. Your Mazda upcoming schedule. You can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
My logo, I got to go for Cincinnati. Old National League traditionally would always have the first game every year.
Oh, I'm a little partial to that Mazda logo down there in the lower right.
Well, we'll see if that can do you any good. Interleague play coming up this weekend in Toronto. The feature on your pocket schedule. Featured tonight on the mound, it's Miguel Batista pitching against Giovanni Gallardo. Mets and Brewers first pitch coming up. SNY is brought to you by Bob's Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. T-shirt Tuesdays are here. For every Tuesday home game this season, you can score both a ticket in the left field landing and a limited edition T-shirt for just $19. The next T-shirt Tuesday game is Tuesday night against the Brewers. Act now. A limited number of tickets are available. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX. Here's your Ford starting lineup for the Brewers tonight. They've been ravaged by injuries, forcing young Taylor Green in the lineup at first base. The former Atlanta Brave Brooks Conrad at second base, and the veteran Cesar Izturis at shortstop. Jonathan Lucroy new to that number 2 spot in the order. Ryan Braun, the reigning National League MVP. He has been red hot in the 3-hole.
Well, Miguel Batista on the mound for his 3rd start with the Mets, 12th appearance. His last start did a nice job of keeping the Mets in the ball game. Went 5 1/3 innings, 2 earned runs in that game as the Mets came back to defeat Roy Halladay of the Phillies.
And we'll take a look at the Lexus Metropolitan defense. David Wright, we were raving about him, Gary and I, Ronnie, on the road. He's just been playing all year long, a really sparkling defense. His throwing problems are no longer an issue. he's just been outstanding over in that corner position.
Ron Renneke in his second year managing the Brewers. Last year finished second in the Manager of the Year balloting in the National League to Kirk Gibson, leading his team to 96 wins and a berth in the National League Championship Series.
As Mike Scioscia's staff has now, he's become the guy that they take people from his staff to become the head guys. Joe Madden, of course, in Tampa Bay, and now Renneke with Milwaukee.
You know, there was a perception that the Brewers were going to have to change their offensive style a little bit with Prince Fielder gone, but they're still second in the National League in home runs. The problem is they just haven't had a very high on base percentage, and their pitching has not been good at all. Ricky Weeks on the sidelines. Weeks has a bruised wrist, and he's sitting out his third straight game. He's hoping to be able to play by tomorrow.
Well, they got former Met Carlos Gomez, too, who tweaked his hamstring. He was off to a very good start in center field for them.
And you see the Brewers' offensive ranks this year still up in the home run numbers, but struggling with their batting average and their on-base percentage. Nyjer Morgan will lead it off, and he's kind of emblematic of the Brewers' woes this year. He had a very good year last year. He and his alternative personality, Tony Plush. But this year, 81 at bats. He's hitting just .210, .273 on base percentage, and no RBIs through his first 81 at bats. We have a door open in the visitors' bullpen, and since there's nobody in the visitors' bullpen when the game begins, Lucas Duda and now Eric Langell, the Mets bullpen catcher, will make sure the door is closed so we can start the game.
I have to say to Eric, fermez la porte, right?
I can hear you knocking, but you can't come in.
Well, I guess since there's nobody in the Milwaukee bullpen to close the door, that must mean they're expecting Gallardo to get out of the first inning.
There you go, right?
First pitch of the night by Batista is a call strike, and we're underway at Citi Field. Third start of the year for Batista. He's made 9 relief appearances. This is his second start since taking over that spot vacated with the injury to Mike Pelfrey. Ball and a strike to Morgan.
I think it was interesting when they brought up Chris Swindon, they thought he could be the answer, and then he decided to go against that and pitch Batista because they said they signed him this year to be the swingman, a guy who can make some starts, and here he is making his third.
And Morgan grounds one right to Ike Davis, and that's the first out of the night. And what Batista needs more than anything else tonight is a better beginning than he had in Philadelphia. Gave up a 2-run homer to Hunter Pence in the first, got betrayed a bit by his defense, gave up 2 more runs in the second. He's got to put up some zeros early in this game.
You know, I think when watching Miguel so far this year, he's had trouble in the strike zone. He could use that to his advantage now, though. A lot of teams are going to try to take pitches off him. Just bury that first pitch in the strike zone and go from there.
Now Jonathan Lucroy, who's been the most pleasant surprise for the Brewers so far this year, signed a 5-year contract in spring training this year and has come out of the box flying. He's hitting .326. Leads the league in batting average with runners in scoring position. 25-year-old catcher has become a fixture with this Milwaukee team.
Well, they moved him up to the 2 position in the order. He was hitting down farther in the order.
Zach Greinke, tomorrow night's starter, studying some of the charts, and it's off the corner to Lucroy, and it's 2-0. Batista has hurt himself with walks this year. 15 walks in 18 2/3 innings. Only 2 walks in that start against the Phillies on Tuesday night. And he misses low and falls behind on Lucroy. 3-0 with Ryan Braun waiting on deck. Brewers 15-19, and right now in a tie for 4th place in the underwhelming National League Central, where the Cardinals are on top. And there's a strike, 3-1. Only the Reds, other than St. Louis, are over 500 in that division, and they're only 1 game over. The Reds will be here on Wednesday and Thursday. There's Johnny Narin, the older of the 2 Narin brothers who coach for the Brewers. Fouled away by Lucroy, and it's 3-2.
You know, the interesting thing about Lucroy is that here's a guy that they knew he could hit at this level. They weren't sure he was going to be able to be defensively as sound, but he's just like the Mets' Josh Thole has kind of come along very quickly.
Well, remember the first time we saw him, how much trouble he had catching Randy Wolf at Miller Park, but he has made very good strides defensively. Batista's worked his way back to 3-2, and a line drive base hit into right center for Lucroy.
Well, that right there is
emblematic of why he was moved up. With Gomez going down in his 2-hole with the hamstring, Lucroy goes the other way naturally.
A few boos for Ryan Braun, and it's been interesting the response to Braun in different ballparks around the league. In Chicago, he got booed so vociferously that it was very noticeable. In other parks, it's been up and down, but you know the story of Ryan Braun well by now. National League MVP, but failed a drug test and was suspended for 50 games, only to have that suspension overturned by a vote by an arbitrator because of a chain of control issue involving the specimen sample. Interestingly enough, the arbitrator who cast the deciding vote, Chaim Das, today was fired by Major League Baseball.
Interesting, on the same day that Ryan Braun comes to town.
I wonder whether there's a coincidence there. 0-1 to Braun, who's hitting at .306, and he's been hitting a lot of home runs lately. He's got 10 for the year, 9 of them since the 21st of April. Those were his MVP numbers last year when, frankly, I thought he stole the award from Matt Kemp.
I agree.
Yes, we both do. That sample taken from Ryan Braun happened to come during the playoffs last season.
And what was really kind of upsetting about the entire process of Braun getting the suspension overturned was the fact that he and his lawyers basically impugned the character of the sample collector. That was boxed around by Nickius, but he keeps it in front of him, and thus won their case.
Greatest smokescreen you've ever seen. If you guys aren't familiar with it, that chain of command problem was that the young man or man who took the sample did not have the opportunity to get it in the mail straight away. So whenever that would happen, he would keep it in his house in the refrigerator until that day, first day came where he could get and send it along.
And there was no implication that he had opened the sample or tampered with it in any way, and yet for some reason the arbitrators ruled in Braun's favor. And that's already had an implication for another player, because just over the weekend Rockies catcher Eliezer Alfonso, who had been suspended for 100 games as a second-time offender, had his suspension vacated because they had concerns about the same kind of chain of control issues. Batista had 1-2, and Braun jumps away, and it's 2-2. What I found fascinating about the entire process, though, was the fact that Major League Baseball, that was so vehement about trying to enforce the suspension against Braun, even though it would mean taking down one of the brightest young stars in the game. And, you know, to this day, Major League Baseball is upset enough about the way it all came down that they can the guy who made the decisions. Little chopper past the mound. Great play by Batista to snag it, and he gets Braun. That ball was by him, and somehow Batista at age 41 was able to get up and grab it to get an out. Not sure they would have gotten one had it gotten past him.
Well, if he was trying to get a rebound, you wouldn't exactly call him Windex here, because he doesn't get up that high, but he makes a nice play. Like you said, Gary, that ball passed him, backhand, and the accurate throw.
Caught it on the way down. He's supposed to get it at the apex,
well,
right?
No one else is going to make that play.
So Lucroy moves up to second. Braun retired for the second out. And now Aramis Ramirez will come to bat. The former Cub signed a 3-year, $36 million deal to be the cleanup hitter, replacing Prince Fielder. And he has just 2 home runs over the first fifth of the season.
He's been a very moody player over his career. Started out with the Pirates. I remember him a lot bigger when he was a Pirate.
Had some good years with Chicago, of course. And last year really parlayed a strong second half into this contract, because he was on the interstate for a lot of the year.
Yeah, he had an awful beginning to his season, but wound up hitting over 300, 26 homers, 93 RBIs for the Cubs last year. He's now 33 years old.
And nice second half that really when the club was already out the door. Finished on the year.
Batista trying to put up a 0 in the first inning. It's been elusive to him, not only in his starts, but also in his relief outings. He has not come out of the gate strong. A good slider there, and it's 2-1 to Ramirez.
it's almost like it takes him a little bit to find himself. You know, find if the breaking ball is working, see if the sinker, if he can center it. And that's a awfully good slider right there.
Certainly surprised Ramirez, who's never had much luck against Batista. He's just 2 for 14 against him. Two guys who both began their career as Pirates, although not at the same time. That's off the plate, fastball, and it's 3-1. And I think what's been surprising about Batista this year is his velocity. For a guy at age 41 who was never considered all that hard a thrower, still throwing 92, 93 miles an hour.
He's retained it. He's throwing the same speed he threw in 2001 with the Diamondbacks.
Now behind the count with Corey Hart on deck. And he comes up and in, and he walks Ramirez. And so the Brewers have 2 men on.
Well, when you have a long career with a lot of different teams, you're going to have some funny history sometimes. And Batista has 1 win against the Brewers in his career.
Here's Corey Hart. Hart, who was questionable to begin the year. He had arthroscopic knee surgery in March, same surgery that Tim Burdack had. Burdack came back for opening day and has been brilliant. And Hart has been able to play after that knee surgery as well. He was ready by opening day.
Well, Hart is a guy that's always seemed to hit the Mets pitchers hard and with power. And he's got a lot of power to left center and right center. Kind of a gap kind of hitter. I mentioned that 1 win for Batista, 1999.
Well into his career.
That's right.
Which began in 1992, some 20 years ago.
Mets pretty much playing him straight up. His best year was 2010 when he hit 31 home runs and drove in 102.
That earned him a new contract. And Hart takes a high strike. He's a tall guy. 1 ball, 1 strike. 6'6" with power and speed. There's rookie Taylor Green waiting on deck. Green filling in at first base for the injured Matt Gamble. The Brewers lost 2 starting players to ACL season injuries within 3 days a couple of weekends ago. That one appeared to cross up Mickey's a little bit, 2-1. They lost Gamble and then they lost Alex Gonzalez in a 3-day span, both to torn ACLs. .22 pitches in the first inning already for Batista. 2-1 coming to Hart, and he misses low and away, and he finds himself behind again. 3-1. Dangerous way to live for Miguel.
Well, Batista's always been, even in his prime, a pitcher that likes to get the hitter, I guess, expand the strike zone, Ron. You get the hitter to swing at the bad pitches.
But that pitch he's throwing there is the pitch you throw when you're ahead in the count, not behind in the count.
So a big pitch to make here against Corey Hart with 2 out and 2 on. And on 3-1, Hart takes it on the outside corner. 3-2. So he wasn't giving in on 3-1. Threw him a little breaking ball to run the count full. More balls than strikes so far for Batista. Locroix at second, Ramirez at first. They'll be running 3-2 and 2 down. And Hart swings and misses, and Batista gets himself out of trouble in the first inning. Mets come to bat in the bottom of the first with no score. Tonight, Ike Davis back in there after missing a game with the flu. Otherwise, it's the same unit that Terry Collins has been running out there. Ronnie Cedeno makes his 4th straight start at shortstop since he came off the disabled list. Mike Nikias gets another call behind the plate as the Mets go up against Giovanni Gallardo. Andres Torres leads things off, and he takes well inside for ball 1.
Gallardo, one of the most talented right-handers in the National League, has gotten off to an incredibly slow start. Much of that due to the Cardinals. His ERA against them in 2 starts so far, over 20.
His other 5 starts have all been quality, including his last start against Cincinnati. He went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs, 4 hits, an 8-3 win for him. But he has not been the consistent ace that the Brewers would like him to be. Won 17 games last year. And pitching inside to Torres, 2-1.
He's got a beautiful motion, very fluid motion. Got a big overhand curve. Kind of his motion, Ronnie, reminds me a little bit of you.
Really?
To some degree. Not entirely, but I see a little bit of you in there.
Slap to shortstop, and the veteran Cesar Izturis, always a good glove man, throws out Torres for the first out.
Take a look at the Coors Light Brew Crew defense. Okay, Braun with 3 assists so far, but this is really an emergency kind of lineup there. Brooks Conrad at second, and young man to go over there, Green at first base. Kind of a stopgap measures here for this Brew Crew team due to the injuries.
Here's Kirk Neuenhuis coming off a good road trip, hitting at .310 for the year, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Neuenhuis hitting .368 over his last 6 games. Just continues to impress, even though his strikeout numbers have been high. He continues to hit the ball hard when he puts it in play.
When he learns to lay off that pitch in the dirt, and he swings at that, he fishes for that sinking change in the dirt and that hard curve from a right-hander down and in. Man, he hung around there. He hung up, I should say, but struggling against lefties, and really his move to left field, Gary, he really hasn't had any really opportunities on some of the fine plays he made when he was playing center when he first got called up. But he's played wonderfully.
Made every play available to him.
Yep.
Certainly has shown no ill effects playing any of the 3 outfield positions. And the curveball from Gallardo in the dirt, 2-2.
He only had the one play in Houston that Terry Collins got on him about, that he needed to take charge in that ball coming in.
Well, and the one that he overran when there was confusion between he and Tejada in center field.
Yeah, I was just talking about the left field play.
2-2 to Neuenhuis with David Wright on deck. And Gallardo, after getting ahead 2 strikes, runs the count full. Mets have hit Gallardo very hard the last few times they've faced him. He had a lot of success against the Mets his first few starts. This is now his 7th career outing against the Mets. 3-2 to Neuenhuis, and he takes ball 4. Close pitch. But after getting ahead 0-2, Gallardo loses Neuenhuis to a walk in front of David Wright, and that draws some skeptical looks from the Brewers dugout.
That's Rick Kranitz, the pitching coach, and Ron Renneke saying, "What's the deal, Jerry Meals? What's wrong with this pitch?" Neuenhuis sees it low. How about you, Keith?
It's borderline knees. It's too close to take.
Jerry Meals calling the balls and strikes tonight. Gary Darling, the crew chief at first, and 2 very young umpires, Chris Conroy and Scott Berry, rounding out the crew. So 1 out and 1 on, and the National League's leading hitter, David Wright, hitting at even .400, the highest any Met has ever been hitting on the 13th of May, or after the 13th of May, and he takes a strike.
This is a team that uses a lot of extremes on their defense, and this is the first time we've seen this on David Wright. I mean, David has been pretty much going the opposite field, but notice the outfield position is to the opposite field. Niger Morgan is playing towards right center, right here. Nice telestrating, Keith. But look at the second baseman up the middle here. So interesting.
When he hits the ball on the ground, obviously he must pull it. When he hits it in the air, he hits it the other way.
David with a .489 on base percentage that leads the major leagues. There goes Neuenhuis. David chases a pitch. He's out, but Neuenhuis is safe at second with a stolen base. Wright can't advance because first base was occupied with less than 2 out, so he's a strikeout victim.
The hard curve ball in the dirt. So I talked with Gallardo, has a tremendous curve.
So Nieuwenhuis picks up his second career stolen base, and he's in scoring position with 2 out for Lucas Duda. Duda has had 6 career at-bats against Gallardo. He's 3 for 6 with 2 home runs against him.
They've been attacking Lucas away, and he's been showing a lot of taking of the first pitches. They've been getting ahead of him, much like Ike on the outside corner.
And you mentioned the shifting that the Brewers do as
that had to be.
Lucroy got crossed up.
That had to be.
He saw him afterwards saying, "I thought we were going with that side."
This is a new dance step.
Wow.
Oh, gee.
That's what Henry Lundqvist looks like when the puck's through a screen.
You get hurt that way.
Wow.
Better off you get a breaking ball when you're looking for a fastball than the other way around.
There's pitching coach Rick Kranitz.
He strolled the entire length of the dugout after that. There's Randy Wolf in the corner of the dugout, listening to his pitching coach Carp. 0-1 the count to Duda with a runner in scoring position. And the curveball from Gallardo misses 1-1. You talked about the shifts, and the Brewers with a modified shift against Duda as well on the infield.
Now, I agree on this one because Lucas has been pulling. I would even move the third baseman over more up the middle and move the shortstop right over the bag.
Well, he certainly has the ability to hit the ball to left and left center. We've seen enough of that. And that curveball misses, and it's 2-1.
If you move the third baseman over, then you're allowing the Nieuwenhuis just stroll into third. Just take third. But with a good curveball, third base means something.
2 outs. If he wants to try to steal it, would be my guess. Yeah. 1 out, you can't do it.
Right.
Or no outs.
Mets trying to score with 2 outs, something they've done 75 times through their first 34 games, second only to the Cardinals. And Gallardo missing with 3 curveballs in a row, and he's behind Duda 3-1 with a red-hot Daniel Murphy on deck.
He hasn't gotten his curveball over once.
Well, it really makes you wonder about pitch selection because you got Duda, who's swinging so-so right now, and you got Murphy, who's hitting everything,
right,
waiting on deck. You'd think you'd want to attack Duda in this spot.
Well, that's what I was going to say with Murphy, as hot as he is. But you know what the memory of the pitcher is? It's that Duda's taken him out of the ballpark twice.
Good point.
Murphy is not.
3-1 coming from Gallardo, and he misses with a fastball, and the Mets have 2 men on. So 2 walks in the first inning, and Kranitz is hot.
Yeah.
I mean, he is not happy at all. And I don't know whether he's more mad at Gallardo or at Lucroy.
I think he's mad at Lucroy, to tell you the truth. Jonathan has looked like he's never caught Gallardo so far in this first inning, and having these cross-ups, of course, is going to irritate any pitching coach.
So 2 walks at the table for Daniel Murphy, who's hit .447 over his last 9 games.
You don't want to face Murphy in a situation where a base hit's all that's needed to get a run, to play to run. If Duda's up late in the game where a home run might lose a ball game.
And the shift they have against Murph right now is shocking, considering the way Murph has been taking that outside pitch to left field lately. And that breaking ball misses for ball 1.
The only way that makes sense to me is if he pitches Murphy like he pitched Torres. Fastball's in. You don't go away with the fastball. Give Murphy a chance to poke that ball to left.
There it is. They've got his tourist way over near the bag.
There he is right there.
And that shortstop hole has been a prime target for Murph of late. And he hits one right there for a base hit. Nieuwenhuis around third. He'll come in to score. Daniel Murphy proves the Brewers shift inept. Well, and the Mets take a 1-0 lead.
I do not agree with that defensive placement, Gary. It was very sharp on your part to pick it up. You just can't do that with Murphy. There's the old adage, pitch him away, play him away. Well, if you're going to do that, you got to pitch him in.
So Murphy now has a 10-game hitting streak. That's his 14th run batted in. A couple of walks hurt Gallardo, and Murphy cashes one. That's 76 2-out runs for the Mets. That ties the Cardinals for the most in the majors.
A multitude of sabermetricians just hid in the closet.
Well, it's the same defense for Ike, and I agree, because Ike has been pulling too much.
Well, Ike hit home runs at back-to-back games, Wednesday in Philly and Friday in Miami. And that breaking ball in the dirt, but then he went 0 for 5 Saturday and sat out yesterday with the flu.
Well, I just, you're going to pitch him away. That's right into Murph's strength, and that's fine. It's okay to do that. But the defensive placement, that should have been 6-3 on your scorecard.
Yep.
And a big hang with him for Murph, but now Murph's off, got a base hit and a ribeye steak. Thanks coach and staff.
2 out and 2 on for Davis, and Ike swings and foul tips the fastball, and it's 1-1.
If you're going to play a shift, your pitchers have to pitch to the shift, and they have to be confident of contact. Pitch inside, let them pull it into your defense. Gallardo and Lucroy did not do that there.
Interesting that they have the same shift against Davis they had against Murphy. I mean, with Ike, you'd figure, well, maybe you overshift that shortstop and put him all the way on the right side. Because Ike has been pulling almost exclusively.
Gallardo has not got one curveball over, and he's missed as badly as Heath Bell did that time here in that series when the Mets played the Marlins at home. He has been in the dirt with his curveball.
By the way, Bell couldn't throw a curveball for a strike yesterday either.
Couldn't. Get 2 W's out of that series, didn't he?
Well, that's being a vulture, my friend.
Well, of course.
Hey. Here's the 1-2, and Ike fouls off that curveball.
There's the first curve he got over. Always said when you got a curveball pitcher, it's throwing in the dirt, his curveball consistently early. He's trying to find the range, and he'll up the range, and he's more apt maybe to throw you a hanger. And so that's, you just wait for it, make him get it up, and hope for a mistake.
Ronnie Cedeno on deck as a little light rain starts to fall. Miguel Batista now 1 run to the good, hoping for more, and Davis takes another curveball in the dirt as Lucroy gets the chest protector in front of it. And it's 2-2.
Ronnie, you threw a curveball. When you're a pitcher like this and you're just bouncing it, what do you do?
I go to plan B. I would hope to maybe get in the second inning. When you're here, you're going to end up being behind in the count or working the count. I think the key, the people always say, how come you not have your curveball coming out of the bullpen? Every mound is different. You're pitching a different way, and it's such a field pitch. Sometimes you don't have the feel for it.
Well, also, if you're a right-hand pitcher and you're facing a left-hand laden lineup, it really helps to have a good changeup as a third option.
Or a good sinker. Gallardo's straight.
2-2 now to Davis. And he misses with his changeup. And it's 3-2. So now the runners will be in motion. Duda and Murphy will take off. Ike trying to turn those numbers around. Three-two coming. And Davis foul tips it, strike 3. So Gallardo takes care of Davis, his second strikeout, and that ends the inning. But a couple of walks and a 2-out hit from Daniel Murphy. Get the Mets in front early. 1-0 New York as we go to the second at Citi Field. Dugout.
And when you're losing games, it can get hot in there, especially when you have an inning like you had right there. And Rick Kranitz, the pitching coach, was in Lucroy's face with Ron Renicky, the manager there. We don't know what he's talking about, but certainly you don't see this kind of animation between from coaches towards the catcher this early.
And after talking to Luke Roy, he went over and talked to Gallardo as well. Taylor Green leads off the second against Miguel Batista, who now has a 1-0 lead. Green, 25-year-old, getting a chance to play with the injury to Matt Gamble. This is his 5th start since coming up from AAA in a big minor league season last year. Green was the Brewers minor league player of the year at $336 with 26 home runs. Wasn't hitting quite so well in the minor leagues this year when he got the call.
He's got a little bit of that kind of Jeff Bagwell crouch.
He's got a big swing, doesn't he?
Last year he came up, he was playing for McGee, and this is what you were talking about, Gary. He didn't spare anything for the catcher and didn't spare anything for his young right-hander.
Well, even the manager, Ron Renicky, came over too.
I think he just wanted to make sure things didn't get too heated. Interestingly, after he was done talking to Gallardo, Kranitz went over and talked to his veteran pitcher, Randy Wolf, just trying to vent, I think.
He was, exactly.
Or they're talking about they're mad at pitch selection to Murphy and reiterating to Wolf.
Well, the one thing that he did to Gallardo, he showed him a chart and said it was talking to him about his pitches.
Green lines it to right. Duda coming on, can't get it. It trickles behind him. Green heads for second. And he's going to take the turn and try for 3. Murphy's relay throw is not in time, and Taylor Green has a triple. So Duda takes the gamble, comes up empty, and gives up 3 bases.
A nice effort by Lucas. I don't have a problem with that kind of aggressiveness. And just doesn't get there.
You know, the one thing he can do, though, when he sees tapes of this tomorrow, Keith, is he can play this more in front of his chest. So that way, if he misses it, the ball's going to bounce and maybe catch a part of his body.
That ball kind of scooted, too, didn't it?
They've scored that a single and an error on Duda.
Really?
Yep, which is really weird scoring.
What is going on here?
Who's our official scorer tonight, Dave?
Art Fern.
Dave Freeman is our official scorer.
No offense, Dave. Just kidding.
Inexperienced in the New York official scorer's chair. So we'll see whether that changes. Anyway, they scored a single and an error on Duda, allowing him to go first to third. Brooks Conrad, the former Brave, who was so good off the Braves bench the last few years, but very much defensively challenged, getting a chance to play now with Ricky Weeks out of the lineup. And he hits that one off his foot, a foul ball. And it's 0-2. Conrad spent the first part of the year in the minor leagues where he was hitting 400 with 5 homers in 15 games in AAA.
Well, he can hit. He can certainly hit. He had, I would have to say, one of the nightmare postseason.
Oh, yeah.
On defense. He just.
That was against the Giants, right?
Yeah. And as a former player, you just watched and cringed.
How many errors did he make?
3 in one game.
4 total, I think, in the series.
Ahead 0-2. Batista misses high as Nikias was standing up for it. It's 1-2.
Interesting. We've seen this a lot, Gary. The corner infield positions defensively. David right in, I don't have a problem. But Ike is kind of in nowhere land there. He's not even, can't even call it halfway. And it's early in the ball game. You're not going to get a routine ground ball. You're not going to be able to throw the guy at home. Either you come in or you go back. And my feeling is play back, concede the run. This team has been hitting, scoring runs.
Yeah.
Green not a fast man at third, and Conrad takes it up out of the strike zone. 2-2. Well, I don't know if you saw the play Saturday that Omar Infante made. Mets had a runner at third, and Infante's playing back, and he gets a sharp one hopper, and he throws him out at the plate. And I wonder whether sometimes they play halfway, thinking that if they get a sharp one hopper, they can come home with it. Swing and a miss, and Conrad is down on strikes. So Batista has a second strikeout. You know what I mean, Keith? Just to give yourself a little fielding depth, but at the same time leave open the option of getting the out at the plate.
Well, now they're going to come in halfway here. The infield, which Terry's very aggressive with this placement. This is all about your manager here, Terry Collins. And the Met defense right now, they're looking to cut this runner off, and normally you don't see that.
Now keep in mind also that Ron Renicky squeezes more than any manager in baseball, and you got a very light hitter at the plate in Cesar Izturis.
I still don't like this defense personally. You got a 1-run lead, back it up. You can hit a ground ball. It's tied 1-1. Let's go to the second inning.
Does it make a difference that you have the pitcher on deck?
Most of the time it does, but not with this team, because Gallardo is an excellent hitter. Hits well over 209 home runs in his career.
Also, if you pitch around, you walk someone, you're setting yourself up for a big inning. You're giving the team an opportunity, one gapper. They got 2 runs in. Play back, 1-1, you're top of the second. Long way to go.
And here comes the squeeze. It's bunted, and Nickius is right on it. And they've got Green hung up, and he's tagged out. Well, 5 times this year, Ron Renneke has been successful with the squeeze. 3 suicides and 2 safeties. This appeared to be a suicide, and Green runs into an out.
Now, I don't like this squeeze early in the ballgame. I'm sorry. I do not like it.
It was not a suicide squeeze. And I know what Gary, it looked like it was, but Green's really fouled up here. What he was doing is, as soon as he saw Astores square around the bunt, he was leaving because Astores is a good bunter. But that's a wrong play. The play is you watch where the ball goes, and then you react to it.
If that's a safety squeeze, he went way too far.
Oh, yeah, big time.
I don't see how we can make an assessment up here that it was a safety squeeze.
You think it was a suicide?
I thought he was late coming on the suicide squeeze.
He broke.
Yeah.
So I just don't like that play at all. It's early in the ball game. Early in the ball game. Come on, swing the bats.
Well, we've seen a lot of maneuvering for the first 2 innings of a game.
That's right.
Between defensive shifts and squeeze plays and pitching coaches getting upset, infield playing in.
You guys don't have enough confidence in your hitter to get a fly ball?
Kevin, I've been watching the NHL hockey in the postseason. Go down there and ask Renneke what was he thinking.
They do that. They interview the coaches right in the middle of the action, don't they? You can do that in baseball, too. 2-0 to Gallardo, and Batista falls behind at 3-0. Gallardo just 1 for 14 at the plate this year, but as Ronnie mentioned, 9 career home runs. More than anybody else since he's come into the league, other than Carlos Zambrano. There's a strike, 3-1. So the Brewers presented with a golden opportunity after Duda couldn't catch the liner by Green. Runner at third and nobody out, and now Batista with a better than even chance of getting out of it. And Gallardo lifts one out to right. Should be easy for Duda as he comes on, and that retires the side. Brewers with a hit, they leave 1. Mets lead 1-0 in the second. Of the second at Citi Field. Mets starting a 4-game homestand tonight, 2 with the Brewers and 2 with the Reds before they head off to interleague play in Toronto on Friday. Ronnie Cedeno will lead things off, and it's been fascinating watching Cedeno during this stretch where he's getting to play every day, because this is a guy who throughout his career has been as impatient a hitter as there's been in the National League, but he has completely bought in to Dave Hudgens' theory of drawing walks, working pitchers, and he has already drawn 7 walks in his first 28 plate appearances, which is completely against type for him.
I always thought of him as a first pitch fastball swinger. If he saw it, he was going to let it fly.
But it gives you an idea just how this entire team has bought into that hitting philosophy.
Well, I think a lot of it too, Gary, is that you've got a manager backing up your pitching coach. They're on the same page, and I believe Sandy Alderson too. If you get backed up by the managers, everybody, come on, the player is the soldier. You got to take orders. So it's been very interesting, and I think he's really, with Tejada down, he's really needed at shortstop for defense, and he's shown a really terrific glove since he's been playing.
Gallardo ahead 1-2, and Cedeno takes the curveball outside. Now, Cedeno, remarkably, has tremendous numbers against Gallardo. He's 3 for 10 with 2 home runs against him, which you wouldn't really expect because Ronnie's not much of a home run hitter. And the fastball in there for a call, 3rd strike. So Cedeno down looking, and Gallardo has his 3rd strikeout.
Looking for a curveball, and took a fastball right down Broadway.
That is the only thing, small fault, maybe big fault, I see with this working the pitcher. I've seen more 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 2-strike fastballs taken right down the middle.
Well, the Mets have now struck out as a team 276 times. They came into the day 4th most strikeouts in the National League, but that goes with 5th most walks. You're taking more pitches, you're working deeper counts, you're more at risk to strike out.
You can only strike out when you have 2 strikes. They work the count.
Mike Nickias sat yesterday. Rob Johnson caught.
You can see the hand signals there. Talk about the curveball.
That's right. Hudgens is asking Ike what he threw him, and he said, I don't know, something spinning. Slider or curve.
Well, I tell you what, if it's something spinning from Gallardo, it's a curveball.
And so far, that curveball is a pitch that he has had trouble throwing for strikes. Now he's behind Nickias 2-0. He's got to be thinking fastball, and he gets one and takes it for a strike.
Well, Gallardo has struggled against lefties this year. 320 left-handers are hitting against him with 2 home runs. Right-handers 250. He's got to get better in both categories.
And Nickias fouls one back. 2-2. Inside pitch on Giovanni Gallardo, brought to you by the Xerox Business of Baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
Everything comes off his fastball. If he keeps it down in the zone, then he can get to that curveball deluxe. I think he has one of the best curveballs when he gets it over in the National League. And a great hitter we were talking about that in his last at bat. Really handles the bat well. Good athlete.
Born in Mexico, grew up in Fort Worth, Texas. Just 26 years old and well established. 55 wins, 37 losses in his career, a 17-game winner last season. But he's run 3 full counts to the first 8 batters and thrown a lot of pitches early in this game. You see him twisting his trunk there as though he's still trying to get loose. 3-2 to Nickias with Batista on deck, and it's too high, ball 4. That's the 3rd walk given up by Gallardo, who generally does not walk many. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. So 1 out and 1 on, and a chance for Batista to move Nickias along.
And Ramirez in aggressively at third base. Obvious bunt situation.
Ramirez is a very skilled, if sometimes nonchalant, third baseman.
He is very skilled. Where you want to bunt this ball is you want to bunt it to the first baseman, Taylor Green. Came up as a shortstop in college, moved him to third base where he played some last year, and he's at first base because they just don't have anyone else.
But want Batista right up at the front of the box, Ronnie. We don't see too many people do that anymore.
Smart. It keeps the ball fair.
Oh,
although he missed twice.
Stabbing at that curve.
Is that something you recommend?
Yeah, you recommend it because when you get up to the front of the box, Gary, now with that kind of technique, it doesn't matter where he stands. But if you stand up to the front of the box, when you make contact, it's going to be in fair territory. You give yourself a little better shot.
Just don't see too many people do this anymore. It's almost out of the batter's box.
Something out of the 60s, right, or 70s.
And he bunts it foul for strike 3. So Batista can't get the bunt down. 4th strikeout for Gallardo. He should move back.
It also gave Gallardo a chance to throw a couple curveballs and got him over.
Look at the front foot. Front foot is
out of the box.
Yes, it is.
Does that make him out?
Well, if the umpire sees it that way, he is. So 2 out. Nicky is still at first, and Andres Torres the batter.
See our good friend Mr. Tuffles back at third base, coaching tonight.
Glad he's feeling better after sitting out yesterday with the flu, which has been running through this team for a couple of weeks now.
There he is.
Bob Guerin coached at third yesterday as Timmy was under the weather. Torres bounced to short his first time up. Well, you can talk baseball with SNY's Bobby Ojeda starting in the 3rd inning of tonight's game. Just go to SNY.TV, click on the link, and join the conversation. It's Chat Live with Bob Ojeda, presented by Verizon, only on SNY.TV. Does Bobby do his own typing?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Grounded to the right side. Conrad handles it cleanly. And that's the 3rd out. So Gallardo works around the 1-out walk. We head for the 3rd at Citi Field with the Mets up 1-0. us now? That's a little meatpacking district, Gary. You grab a little dinner at Catch and go over to Provocateur, spend a night dancing. I feel like I'm in the middle of Mean Streets.
You can go down and walk the streets down the meatpacking district, put your head on a swivel.
With all the restaurants, you mean?
Nice scenery?
Yes.
Top of the batting order for the Brewers in the third. Nigel Morgan grounded out his first time up, and he takes the changeup for a strike. Is Morgan allowed to be Tony Plush when he's not going good?
No.
He's hitting 207. I guess he has to be Niger.
I mean, their whole team. This is more like the Brew feud than the Brew crew.
But I just wonder, they made so much of that last year when the Brewers had a very successful year about Niger and his effusive personality and this alter ego that he used. But hey, you guys have been on winning teams and losing teams. I wonder how that stuff goes over when a team's not playing well.
Well, think about it this way. That 86 team, you had all those, I don't know, videos and, you know, let's go, Mets go and all that stuff. There wasn't a lot of that stuff in 87 when everyone was injured. So it just doesn't work if you're not styling, winning 100+.
1-2 from Batista, and it's grounded again to the right side. And Murphy takes care of Morgan for the first out. And it's got to be difficult if you're that kind of personality to know when you shut it down and when you let it loose. Is a 3-game winning streak enough to to reignite the extracurricular stuff?
I think it would be similar to when you cannot make your start because you're a little stiff and you play golf the next day on your off day. That's why I would equate that'd be a good day not to play golf.
You know, we hadn't seen you since then, so I'm glad you could get that in. It's been quite a year in Boston, hasn't it? And it's only May.
Already.
Here's Jonathan Lucroy, and he drives one to center, but Torres is there. And that's the second out. So quickly, Batista's retired the first 2 in the third. The Red Sox, who are going for their 4th straight win tonight after blowing out Cleveland yesterday. Red Sox 4 games under 500.
Is that Lester against Felix?
Felix isn't quite as unbeatable away from Safeco Field, is he?
Yeah, he had a tough start at Yankee Stadium where he usually is spot on.
It's Vargas tonight.
Vargas, yeah.
He's had a nice year.
4-2.
Here's Ryan Braun, hearing a few more jeers this time than he did his first at bat. Maybe the crowd remembering that they're supposed to boo Braun. Retired on a chopper to the mound that Batista made a very nice play on his first time up.
Well, to not analyze his swing, but to talk about his baseball prowess, he takes that bat about as high as anyone's ever taken it, and he drops that bat head on the baseball as good as anyone in the game. That's way up there. I mean, not Yastrzemski-like,
Yeah,
but
Yaz had that one. Had the market cornered. He's one of those guys that takes a swing and falls over the plate, and
he starts so far away, so he's got to dive in just to get plate coverage, doesn't he?
well, not so much dive. He's got a stride in, and he doesn't dive. So, but you know, there was some pitchers not too long ago that took a swing and fell over the plate, and then rolled your eyes like you missed something. You were going to be dusting the dirt off your uniform the next pitch.
2-2 now to Braun, who has never had much success with the long ball against the Mets. He now has 109 career at bats against the Mets with only 2 home runs.
Gets big hits though. He hits line drives. He has not got the protection with Prince Fielder behind him as he's had over the years now, and a left-handed power bat. It's not there anymore.
Lifts this one to right field, playable for Duda. And so Miguel Batista puts together his first 1-2-3 inning of the night. 3 shutout innings under his belt. 1-0 New York.
I used to stay at that hotel a couple times around 3 in the morning, kind of stumbled in.
Get insider info and debate as the Rangers skate against the Devils in the Eastern Conference Finals. Plus recaps and previews of all the Mets and Yankees matchups on Daily News Live, Wheelhouse, and Loudmouths, all part of the New York Sports Local. Weekdays starting at 5, only on SNY. Kirk Neuenhuis got the Mets started in the first inning, walked, stole a base, and scored the only run of this game. Neuenhuis right and Duda for the Mets in the home third against Gallardo. And he misses with a fastball, a ball and a strike. I mentioned Neuenhuis during his first at bat and the number of strikeouts, 37 strikeouts already. That's 6th in the National League, and he struck out at least once in 17 of his last 18 games. And yet you look at how he's performed and it hasn't seemed to matter.
He hasn't lost his confidence. He stays. He's a threat.
He's a very even-keeled guy.
Yes.
And he goes down on the changeup from Gallardo. 5 strikeouts already for Giovanni Gallardo. David Wright coming up. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin.
Well, you guys were talking about it in the first inning about this Brewers shift on defense, and they do it quite often. I talked to manager Ron Renicky today, and he said it is quite vital to our success. We save a lot of runs with it, but it is risky as well. He said, you know, it's not just about looking at the information. It's going by more than the book. He said, you know, for instance, he used Joey Votto as an example. You know, if I'm doing an extreme shift for Votto, does he have the ability to go the other way and beat the shift? And the other thing is, do I mind if he goes the other way and beats the shift? Sometimes, you know, I'll take a single from Votto leading off an inning rather, you know, than something bigger. So very interesting how much they use it now. As a matter of fact, Renicky said that back in his Angel days, he and Joe Madden would always talk. He worked the outfielders. Madden, now of course the Rays, worked the infielders. And they had all the information, he said, back then. They would always talk about the shift, but Mike Scioscia never really liked to use it. Now, both using it quite a bit. And Ronnie, what I asked Ron is this shift a product of how you're going to pitch these Mets, or is it really a factor of all their history of these hitters? He said, well, if I told you that, Terry Collins would have the scouting report. But Ron, what do you think? How do they work the shift? Is it on the pitching strategy or on the hitter's history?
Well, I think it depends on your pitching staff, Kevin. If you have a pitching staff that can execute a game plan, then yes, you should definitely use a combination of the shift and your pitcher. But you have a guy here so far who's struggled a little bit with his control, has not been able to throw his breaking ball for strikes, and pitched against the defense to Murphy. That cost him game's only run.
You know, another thing too, Ron, is let's just use an example. Prince Fielder, who's a dead pull hitter, power hitter. How many times last year, Gary, did we see him late in the ball game where a base hit was all was needed, hit a line drive to left field to get the plate to run home? You got to know what situations and what point of the game you can play and play the shift, and as David takes ball 4, and when not to.
That's 4 walks already for Gallardo. By the way, since Kevin mentioned it, I think the best way to shift against Votto yesterday would have been to play in the bleachers.
Exactly. 3 home runs, including a walk-off grand slam. If you look at some of the books on the Brewers last year, who have been, I don't know, their infield defense was not the best last season. There are some books that said they saved, with their shifting, 85 runs last year.
Here's Lucas Duda, who walked his first time up. So Gallardo throwing an enormous number of pitches early, all walks and strikeouts.
Keith, how much do you think it is mental? You know, in terms of, you know, because I asked Renicky that, and he said he thinks the mental vision of the hitter is a big factor. And in other words, just a guy getting in the box and seeing that the infield looks a lot different than it did, you know, when they were 7 years old on the Little League field. Do you think that comes into play?
Well, Kev, if you're going to be a hitter that they can put an extreme shift on you, then you are predictable. You're either an inside-out hitter going the other way, or you're a dead pull hitter. If you use the whole field, they're not going to be able to do that. The one thing that would bother me was I always liked that little hole between short and third. And where the third baseman's playing right now, Ramirez, I would not like that. He's taking that hole away from me.
But I think, you know, going back to the Murphy at bat, and we'll see whether they do the same when Murph comes up next. You look at the charts on Murphy, and they seem to indicate that he goes line to line as well as anybody in the game, and it makes you think, well, What are they thinking about?
We don't need a chart. We watch the game. So all you have to do is watch. And I guess that is what it's all about. Not only the charts, but what you see day to day.
Ball 3, and Gallardo really having trouble throwing strikes. This is very unlike him. Coming into the day, 39 innings, 16 walks. But really having trouble throwing anything for a strike right now. Early on, it was just the curveball. And he's already thrown more balls than strikes tonight. So let's see if Duda's swinging 3-0 with Murphy on deck. There goes right, and it's ball 4 to Duda. That's odd. David running on 3-0, but it's of no consequence as Duda walks, and that's 5 walks now for Gallardo.
What happens is they sometimes get the book on a pitcher, Gary and Keith, that he does not pay attention to the runner when he gets to 3-0. All he's concentrate on is making the pitch to the plate, and they must have the book that he does that, so they take off.
Rick Kranitz, who's been in a snit since this game began, comes out for a talk to his battery.
Lucroy's a little afraid after the first inning. He's going to wear the mask during this Kranitz meeting.
He's talking more to Lucroy than he is to the Gallardo.
He's talking to both, though. I'll tell you, and it's not pleasant.
Well, let's see what happens here with Murphy. Now it's a little different here. Well, it's actually not. They had 2 men on the last time, so it was the same kind of situation, although now the double play is in order. First time up, Murphy was up with 2 out.
See, I would get Ramirez off the line a little further and take that hold away from Murph.
But his Turris isn't nearly as far toward second as he was. And that's where Murphy hit it the last time, right where his Turris is standing now. Murphy with an RBI single for the only run of the game. Murph's hits this year have been more to center field than anywhere else, but more to left than to right. And Gallardo working him inside, which I guess was supposed to be the game plan in the first place.
Well, the first pitch was a little cutter, about 85 miles an hour, something that Murph would pull. Now a fastball in to get him off the plate. I wouldn't be surprised he goes back. A lot of breaking balls that are more apt to be pulled by Murph.
And there's a curveball for a strike, a rarity for Gallardo. It's only had the 1 hit. It was Murphy single to drive in the run in the first, but Gallardo has walked 5, giving the Mets plenty of chances early in this game. Mike Davis waiting on deck. You can hear the wind kicking up, and the wind is blowing out. 1-2, and Lucroy goes down to get it. 2-2.
I think the pitch that Gallardo has not thrown against the left-handers, and I think that's the reason, Keith, you gave that number. What, 320, 340 something? Left-handers are hitting against him because he is not throwing fastballs for strikes inside the left-handed hitters. That would be his equalizer.
A 10-game hitting streak for Murphy, matching his career high. 2-2, and he takes it low, and he works it full. Frustrating night so far for Gallardo.
Well, with Murph's a very patient hitter, doesn't swing at bad pitches too often, and Gallardo's struggling with that breaking ball. Now he's got himself in a situation where I'd put runners in motion here with Murph. Murph red hot, doesn't strike out.
By the way, somebody might want to run down and get Rick Kranitz a Valium. 3-2, runners go, and Murphy grounds one to the right side. Green gets a glove on it, recovers, and finds Gallardo, and they get the out. Runners advanced to second and third, but Green almost botched that play completely, stayed with it, and got the out.
Well, fortunate it stayed close to him.
You know what's interesting about the shift, guys? Sometimes an inexperienced first baseman doesn't know that here's a second baseman's going to shift. That was an easy play for Brooks Conrad.
Well, here's a big spot for Ike here, who's been struggling. Just has not been able to get going.
Davis struck out his first time up.
And they've got the big shift.
Right at third, Duda at second, and Davis takes low and inside for ball 1.
The only thing I don't like about this shift personally, guys, is that Now the ground ball that kind of is right to the second baseman's right, kind of to the backhand, now becomes an easy base hit. If you're going to do it, move the shortstop over there.
So you're saying overlap him and take away that ball right just to the right of second base.
Yeah, there's nothing worse for a team or a pitcher than a ground ball that should be an easy out going out to the center fielder. You know, if you're going to shift, then shift him all the way over there, pound Ike in, and throw breaking balls down.
On the way, it looks like he's pitching around Ike here with Ronnie Cedeno on deck and first base open.
I would go after Ike the way he's struggling. And they come in about all these extreme defenses. Why wouldn't you play your second baseman 15 feet on the outfield grass? With Ike, it doesn't run well.
Well, the Mets do that all the time. Murphy.
Precisely. I would have this. I would have Conrad 15, 20 feet in right field. I had him out here.
Problem, of course, is Conrad has enough trouble picking the ball up out of the dirt. He might have more trouble picking up off the grass. Two and one the count to Ike Davis. And he pulls one right to Conrad. I guess he was in the right spot. Side retired. So 2 walks and 2 left. And Gallardo works around the walks and keeps it a 1-0 game. Trivia question for tonight. 4 players to have 3,000 hits, 500 stolen bases, and a career average over 300. It's a lot of particulars. Think it over.
3 players.
I said 4.
4?
Yes.
I wasn't paying attention.
That's one more than 3. Ramos Ramirez leads off the 4th and takes a strike.
Well, you know my math was never a forte.
I'm just guessing, since we're asking the question, that one of them was a Brewer.
I've got 2. The other 2, I believe, then.
There were 4 of them altogether. That would mean you'd need the other 3.
Oh,
you're really stuck on this, aren't you? 0-2 to Ramirez.
I need some coffee. Just kidding, Kerr. I'm okay.
Just need a couple more hours of your attention. That's all. 1-2 to Ramirez, who walked his first time up. Miguel Batista working with a 1-0 lead. So that much further ahead of the game than he was his last start in Philly, when he gave up 4 runs in the first 2 innings. We talked about Ramirez last year, at bat in his year last year, when he hit 26 home runs for the Cubs. He hit 17 of the 26 in June and July. Wow. So he was cold early and cold late and put up huge numbers in the middle of the season. So far, he has 2 home runs in the first 6 weeks of this season. And Batista gets him with a sinker. 3rd strikeout for McGill, and he's now retired 7 in a row. 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Kevin.
Jason Bay was around the club today, guys, and said that he's feeling better, no real pain, and all he's really doing right now riding the bike, but he says he's ready to kind of take the next step. Still not close to coming back, although Terry Collins did say that, maybe Bay's pretty quick, he gets going, maybe 7 to 10 days, we'll see. That wasn't the interesting part. Later on, about an hour for the ball game, I caught Terry Collins and I asked him, when Bay does come back, is he your starting left fielder? Terry took a long pause and said, well, that's something we're going to have to figure out. And he said, I'd say probably right now, yes, but we really have to decide what's going to be best for our ball club. I'll say this, Turk Nieuwenhuis has shown that he deserves to be somewhere in the lineup. And, that I thought was such an interesting response. I mean, normally, when Torres came back, guys, to go on that, he said Torres coming back to play center field. There was no hesitation. There was hesitation here. I think it's a combination of Bay producing and what Nieuwenhuis has done. Terry went on to say, what I like about Nieuwenhuis is, a couple things. First of all, he has adapted to these pitchers, seeing what they're doing to him, and he's adapted. And also, when he starts, his at-bats get better in the game. That's going to be very interesting when Bay is ready to come back, how Terry calls it.
Well, it's certainly a pleasant dilemma to have if indeed it comes down that way. And we still don't know how long it's going to be before Jason's back. I think Terry's being very optimistic at 7 to 10 days. I think it's going to be more than that.
Well, he's right about one thing. His at-bats do get better, Nieuwenhuis. And usually young hitters, if they've got an 0 for 3 and the pitcher's kind of messing them up a little bit, they can kind of fold their tent and lose their confidence. He doesn't. And Nieuwenhuis, of course.
2-2 to Corey Hart, who struck out his first time up. And he lifts this one along the right field line. Ike going back, Murphy coming over, and Murphy takes charge to make the catch. 2 out.
Well, he's calling it back off. It's a bit easier play for the second baseman than it is for the first baseman. The first baseman's backpedaling, second baseman's under it with lateral movement.
That is a great shot.
Fantastic.
Just a great shot.
And look at Murphy using 2 hands. I love it.
So you prefer the guy with the better angle to the guy with the bigger glove?
Yes, because you're paid, you're a professional, you're a major league ball player. You catch pop-ups. You don't drop them in Yankee Stadium with the bases loaded or whatever.
Wow. Sounds like somebody's still bitter. Taylor Green has one of the 2 hits for the Brewers. He singled to right in the second. Should have been scored a triple, but they scored a single and an error on Duda. Since then, Batista's retired 8 in a row. And that one's off Nickius's mid, a ball and a strike.
What would our friend Doc Emmerich say there? That was waffle boarding to the boards.
Two and 1 to Green. A native of Comox, British Columbia. We've already talked about Votto and Bay tonight,
That's
so
right.
It's a Canadian theme. Squib foul, and it's 2-2. Bryce Harper is hit his first major league home run tonight. Hit it off Tim Stauffer of the Padres. Nats are up 4-3 in the 4th. Nationals fell out of first place with their loss yesterday to the Reds on Votto's grand slam. Braves now in first by a half a game.
The Braves went in there and swept the Cardinals.
Brooks Conrad would be next. Batista settling into a nice groove tonight.
He's got a nice little tight slider tonight. He's locating it well.
2-2 to Taylor Green. And a ground ball. Murphy playing in the outfield where he's very comfortable and throws out Green. That's 9 in a row retired by Miguel Batista. And the Mets have a 1-0 lead in the fourth.
Supplying the island.
Ronnie Cedeno leads off the bottom of the fourth for New York. Cedeno took a called third strike from Giovanni Gallardo his first time up. Gallardo's been tiptoeing through these first 3 innings. He's walked 5, but he's struck out 5, and he's been able to strand 5 base runners and keep it a 1-0 game. Cedeno, Nikias, and Batista the lower third of the order for the Mets here in the fourth. Curveball in for a strike, and all of a sudden Gallardo's starting to throw some of those for strikes.
Yeah, he's starting to get locked in. Pitch count is going to stop him, though, from getting deep in this game.
This is going to be his 70th pitch of the night with nobody out in the fourth. And a chopper to the left side. On comes Asturias and throws out his opposite number. 1 away. Recently, SNY and City helped the YM and YWHA of Washington Heights and Inwood expand their program and purchase much-needed equipment with the SNY Play Ball Award. Now it's your turn. Help your youth baseball or softball league with a $5,000 grant. Apply for the SNY Play Ball Award presented by City today at sny.tv/playball.
That was the Crane that was there, right? Eddie
Yes.
Kranepool. Take the 8 train to 207th Street. Inwood.
Well, Eddie grew up in the Bronx. He knows his way uptown.
That's right.
Here's Mike Nikias, who walked his first time up, and he takes low and away. Nikias making his 11th start, and he's getting the bulk of the playing time, and he might be the only available catcher for the Mets tonight because Rob Johnson yesterday took a foul ball off the thumb of his glove, and catchers will tell you, even though the glove is there, you hit that thumb at the wrong angle and you can get severely bruised, and that's what happened to Johnson.
That's why most of the catchers inside their glove wear a really hard plastic shield that they wear over their thumb to try to stop that from happening.
So Rob has quite a wrap on that left thumb today. Probably could be available in an emergency, but don't look for Nikias to leave for a pinch hitter at any time. Popped up in foul ground, and Green comes over to get it. 2 out. Let's answer our AT&T trivia question. We asked which 4 players had 3,000 hits, 500 stolen bases, and a career average over 300. We opined that one would be a Brewer, and one of them was Paul Molitor, the only modern-day player among the quartet. Todd Cobb, Eddie Collins, Honus Wagner from very early in the 20th century. Here's Miguel Batista, who struck out his first time up trying to bunt. And he takes a strike. What I find fascinating when I read histories of the game is the fact that when Babe Ruth was playing, and even after Ruth's career was over, many baseball people still considered Ty Cobb the better player.
That Ruth was somewhat of an anomaly for a baseball purist.
Well, Babe Ruth obviously changed the game.
But I think that, you know, for a lot of people who had grown up in baseball in the 1890s and the early part of the 20th century, Cobb's brand of baseball they considered more pure, whereas Ruth was, you know, he was the ruffian, he was the slugger, and that was something baseball was not accustomed to.
He could pitch too, though.
Yep. 0-2 to Batista, and the curveball got him, so Gallardo has his first 1-2-3 inning. His 6th strikeout sends us on to the 5th inning at Citi Field. Batista and the Mets with a 1-0 lead. Champions, Hall of Famers, and players who created memories that will live on forever. Now the roll call begins as we count down the greatest talents to ever wear a Mets uniform. 50 Greatest Mets, presented by Citi, Thursday at 7 p.m. only on SNY. Fifth inning, Miguel Batista working with a 1-0 lead. He's retired the last 9 Brewers, and he'll face the lower third of the order in the top of the 5th. Batista looking for his first victory of the season. Now making his 3rd start. Brooks Conrad will lead off, and Conrad looking for his first hit of the season. Struck out his first time up today. Batted with a runner at 3rd and nobody out. Couldn't get that run in, and the Brewers then could not execute a suicide squeeze. At least we think it was a suicide squeeze. And they haven't had a base runner since.
Nope. Conrad's yet to get a hit.
0 for 12 since being called up. And it's evenly distributed. 0 for 6 right-handed, 0 for 6 left-handed. And he yanks one foul from Batista. This Brewers team as a group looks a little skittish at the plate. Over anxious.
You know, they have lost a lot of their key players. Matt Gamble was a big, huge loss because they expected him. He'd had huge numbers in AAA to fill the shoes of Prince Fielder. And then Alex Gonzalez, of course, just a stalwart at short.
Gamble, you remember, they called up a couple of years ago. He was going to be their 3rd baseman, but then he didn't hit, and Casey McGee came out of nowhere to take that job. McGee faltered last year. He's now in Pittsburgh, and the Brewers are retooling on a lot of fronts, trying to build their team around Ryan Braun. Now, I thought it was interesting over the last week or two that Brewers owner Mark Antanasio has awarded the general manager Doug Melvin and the manager Ron Renicky with new contract extensions, recognizing that this is not going to be the greatest year, but acknowledging the role that they've had in building the Brewers to what they did last year.
Yeah, club option for Renicky through 2015, and it's hard to take though when they've fostered such a good fan base there in Milwaukee.
His Torres shoots one up the middle, and he's got a base hit. Just the third hit giving up by Batista, who would retire 10 in a row.
That's the guy that tried to bunt with the guy on third with one out.
Well, the Brewers had their first postseason win going as far back as 1982 against us in the World Series.
They won a 3 out of 5 with the Diamondbacks and then just lost out to the Cardinals.
Well, another bunt situation here.
Although not guaranteed with Gallardo, because he can swing the bat. Flight out to right his first time up.
I think you got a bunt here.
It's here to the third base coach.
Never been a fan of that Brewer uniform.
It's had a lot of different transformations. You played against them in the World Series when they had that real blue one.
The blue with the yellow, right?
Yeah, and then the pinstripe at home.
Right.
With the Sansabelt blue waist thing.
Of course, the Brewers began as the Seattle Pilots in 1969. They played just 1 year in Seattle, moved to Milwaukee right before the 1970 season. And what I remember when I was a kid is the logo that looked like a hand.
That's right.
And I mean, I must have been really dumb because it took me years to realize that that hand was actually an MB. Batista solved the puzzle of who should pick it up. 1-4 on the sacrifice, moving his tourist to second.
Gary, don't feel bad. I'm in the same boat. I had no clue.
I mean, honestly, years. And then one day it suddenly dawned on me, oh, that hand, that's an M and a B.
And it's a glove.
Right, it's a glove, right?
Well, actually pretty clever. Nice
Very
bunt.
clever, but, you know, a little too obscure for us thick-headed folk.
I remember I got a baseball card. It was of third baseman Don Money of the Seattle Pilots, and I told my dad, and he said, you know what? Don Money's a good player. This Harvey?
Harvey Keene.
Harvey Keene wearing that MB logo.
Harvey, of course, had the one leg amputated. He had the it wasn't really, I don't think it was a prosthesis at all. I don't think they were around at those times. But when he came out to pull a pitcher out, it took forever.
Nyjer Morgan looking for his first run batted in of the season with a runner at second and 2 out. And Nickias goes down in the dirt to stop at ball 1.
Harvey Keene, of course, when I was a kid growing up, played left field for the Giants, San Francisco Giants. 300 hitter, had a couple 300 seasons there.
And famously was the last out of Sandy Koufax's perfect game as an older player with the Cubs in 1965.
Called Harvey's Wallbangers. Remember the 82 Brews?
Out to left field, and Nieuwenhuis is right there waiting for it. And so Batista works around a 1-out hit. He's got 5 scoreless innings under his belt. Halfway through, 1-0 Mets. Mets got a run on Daniel Murphy's RBI single in the first, and the rest has been Miguel Batista holding the Brewers in check. Top of the batting order, Andres Torres leads off in the home fifth against Gallardo. Torres had reached base in every game he had played through Saturday, but he went 0 for 5 yesterday and 0 for 2 so far today. Neuenhuis right to follow. Yeah, Gallardo, who's already walked 5, falls behind 2-0. Well, there he is, Mr. Baseball. Bob Uecker, fixture as the radio voice of the Milwaukee Brewers, in addition to all of his other talents.
He's had quite a remarkable life, Mr. Uecker.
I mean, I'm showing my age here, but I used to love when he used to go on Johnny Carson. He was hilarious.
He had more appearances on Carson than anybody.
He was unbelievable.
He's like the baseball version of Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz was always hilarious on Carson.
Gallardo behind Torres 3-0, and it is a strike, 3-1. Well, he had the successful TV show with Mr. Belvedere.
That's right.
He had the great string of beer ads, the Miller Lite, the first round of Miller Lite.
That's right. Those are fantastic.
But, you know, he's always been true to his roots. He grew up in Wisconsin, and he's been doing radio for the Brewers, I don't know, for 40 years. And he never misses a game except, you know, when he was in the hospital with a heart attack. He's remarkable. He really is. And he's when you listen to his broadcast, it's not the funny man, although it comes out sometimes. He's a straight-ahead play-by-play guy.
Yes, he is.
And those are the folks in the Uecker seats.
They must like it up there, Garrett.
He missed the tag. They look very enthusiastic. Torres takes it high, ball 4, and the Mets have the leadoff man on for the first time tonight. 6 walks now for Gallardo, and that ties his career high. Only the 3rd time in his career he's walked 6 batters in a game.
Well, let's see if the Mets try to make something happen here. A stolen base, hit and run.
You wouldn't think that you could hit and run with a guy who strikes out as much as Neuenhuis, but when called upon, he can make contact for you.
Center fielder Morgan shading to right field. I don't think that's a good move. Neuenhuis hits the ball to left center a lot.
Torres has just 1 stolen base, and Gallardo will check on him. The Mets have just 1 hit tonight. That was Murphy's RBI single in the first. But they've already left 5 runners on base because of all the walks. David Wright on deck. The Brewers have been getting very good starting pitching lately. It has not been their strength this year, but this last time through the rotation, last 5 games, their starters have a 1.36 ERA.
Well, you can only hope. It's only 1 turn through, and it's, you know, certainly it's a reason to be optimistic and hopeful. But
well, Zach Greinke has pitched probably better than any of their other starters, and he goes tomorrow night against the Mets.
And Sean Markham has been solid through 7 starts.
Of course, they're down a starter. They lost the lefty Chris Narveson. They plugged in Marco Estrada to take his spot in the rotation. And Randy Wolf has been what Randy Wolf generally is, a guy who's going to go out there and give you innings. There's tomorrow's probables, your city probables. Dylan G looking for his 3rd win of the year against Greinke. There is their rotation this year, with Estrada taking Narveson's spot, 3rd from the bottom in the league, but better lately. 1-1 to Neuenhuis, and that breaking ball is down. 2 balls and a strike.
So, you know, once again, you've got a pitcher out there, a very good pitcher. There's Jason Bay,
who, by the way, was very upbeat today when I spoke to him. I think he's feeling much better about things as he comes back from that fractured rib. Two-1 to Neuenhuis. Runner goes, and it's fouled back. So the Mets do play hit and run.
Do play hit and run, and too big a swing from Neuenhuis. I don't think he was comfortable with the hit and run, and don't think Terry Collins right there doesn't notice that.
hit and run. You don't want to take that big long swing.
Well, we mentioned this during the last series, Keith. I think he's still learning.
Yep.
He had Cedeno try hit and run yesterday, and still trying to figure out who he can do that with. Still less than a quarter of the season played, and keep on gathering information. Little tapper near the bag, should be a double play. Conrad to his Turris, and they don't turn it. So the Mets avoid the double play and have a one-out base runner with Neuenhuis.
You know, the only way they're going to turn this one is to make, well, they could now. Torres stopped. There's no way to tag him, and Neuenhuis runs too well. Too much of a Baltimore chop. You know, one thing I've noticed, Ron, correct me if I'm wrong. You've got a struggling pitcher up here, and Gary, we've seen this lineup, Met lineup. They are aggressively patient. As a pitcher, I think they come in here. There's not a lot of lineups that hit like the Mets that have good eyes, make you throw strikes. It catches them by surprise. My feeling is if you're going to come in and pitch against the Mets, you've got to go attack them aggressively in the strike zone.
Make them come out of their game plan.
Right lays off the curveball, and it's 1-0.
Guys, we've been talking all game about the shift for the Brewers, and manager Ron Renneke did say this. You know, the one thing about this when he started putting this in last year is that I had to persuade some of the pitchers to buy in, because if they don't, you know, they kind of change the way they pitch. Earlier last year, Gallardo got crushed by the shift. Now, it evened out after the season, but I had a meeting with Gallardo, the pitchers, and the rest of the team, and just really wanted to get their input to make sure they bought in and believed that was the way to make us successful. And Ronnie, I can imagine, you know, if you're on the mound and there's a ground ball that, you know, where the second baseman should be and it gets through for a hit, I can understand how a pitcher would be upset with that.
Pitchers get upset at anything, Kevin. I'll tell you.
They don't need much of an excuse.
No, they'd love to hang their hat on something that wasn't their fault. But
and Wright takes a good-looking fastball for a strike.
It's almost, Kevin, like for pitchers, they remember every broken bat hit, but don't remember the line drive right at someone that's an out. It's the same thing with the shift. When the play's made, you don't think about it, but when the ball goes against the shift, now I can't believe that we were playing in that position.
Hitters are the same way, right? They don't remember the bloops, only the line drives that are caught.
That's right.
Here's the 1-1 to David, and a slow ground ball. Ramirez waits on it and makes the toss in time for the second out as Neuenhuis moves up to second.
Well, there have not been many hard hit balls by either team today. Maybe Taylor Green? Is that the only one?
His Turris, his
Murph,
base
maybe.
hit.
You know.
We've got a similar situation as in the first inning now with an open base. Gallardo walked Duda to set up Murphy for the RBI single. He's walked Duda twice.
Well, remember, Duda's got 2 home runs against him in 6 career at-bats.
We'll see how he attacks him here.
I would look fastball, middle of plate in, Duda, first pitch. Let's see if he gets it.
Too high with the fastball. That's a 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position tonight. That was Murphy's hit back in the first. He played at the Mets' 76th 2-out run this year, tied for the most in the majors.
Amazing to me that, I mean, Ronnie, I don't want to face a red hot Murphy line drive hitter with a base hit scores another run.
I just think that we have all the numbers, and in the pitcher's head, when he's given up bombs to a hitter, that's all he remembers.
Behind 2-0. He throws one right on the outside corner. A perfect pitch by Gallardo. 2-1.
Lucas has got to think, hey, he went out there to get a strike. He might go out there again. If he does, be ready to go that way.
Threw him a changeup out there on 1-0 and the fastball on 2-0. And now comes right back outside with the off-speed pitch, and it's 3-1.
I'm a little confounded about his approach to Duda.
Yeah.
13 pitches he's thrown to Duda. 11 of the 13 have been out of the strike zone. See if he gets anything to hit on 3-1. Paints the outside block with the fastball, and it's 3-2.
I don't like that pitch. I thought that was a ball. Let's see. No, that's a good pitch. I mean, he could have caught the front.
Well, he's shown no inclination to come inside to Duda. 5 pitches into the at bat.
He's going to throw him a breaking ball.
Here's the 3-2. Fastball fouled off.
Came up and in. Tried to. Didn't get it there, but at least he was up in the strike zone.
Good job by Lucas to foul this pitch off.
Didn't get it in, Ronnie. This has a lot right down Broadway. He's lucky he didn't get that one down the knees. That's in Lucas's wheelhouse.
Again, the 3-2 from Gallardo. And Duda hits one out to left field, and Braun is there. That retires the side. Nice battle between Gallardo and Duda. Mets are kept off the board. After 5, it's still 1-0. Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. We go to the 6th. Miguel Batista working on a shutout. Jonathan Lucroy leads off for the Brewers and takes a slider for a strike. Lucroy has hit the ball hard twice, single to right center, lined out to center field. Ryan Braun and Aramis Ramirez to follow. This is a very big inning for Miguel Batista against the better hitters in the Brewers order. And Lucroy takes one on the bounce, a ball and a strike. Batista's last win was a complete game shutout the final day of last season. He became the oldest Met pitcher ever to throw a shutout when he beat the Reds with a 2-hitter. And here he is carrying a shutout into the 6th tonight. Lucroy pulls one down to third. David Wright has it on the backhand, one away. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin has a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Hit the breaking ball from Tim Stauffer. Well, here's Ryan Braun for his 3rd at bat. Chopped one back to Batista in the 1st, flied out to right in the 3rd. Braun has 9 home runs in his last 19 games, so he has begun to heat up. Aramis Ramirez waiting on deck. The Brewers have 3 hits, all singles. The Mets have only 1 hit, but the Mets have a 1-0 lead. It's hardly been a spotless game. I mean, Giovanni Gallardo has walked 6. Batista's had the better of it, at one point retiring 10 in a row. Now he's behind on Braun, 2-0. Always a dangerous place to be. And he wasn't going to give in to him. Threw him a 2-0 slider and he fouled it off. And I guess that's what you were talking about right from the outset of this game. Doesn't matter what the count is, Batista's just not going to give in.
Yeah, when he's behind in the count, you're going to see a breaking pitch. If he gets ahead of you, sometimes he'll throw that fastball up. But at this point, really is a breaking ball pitcher.
Off the corner, and it's 3-1 to Braun.
Well, if he can give Terry Collins and the Mets 6, minimum, he's gone out there and done his job. Gotten this far into the ball. He's pitching a whale of a game.
Big pitch to make here. 3-1 to Braun, and it's in at the knees for a strike. 3-2.
Well, 6 shutout innings in yesterday's ball game by Jonathan Neese.
He's pitching with the flu yesterday. He's feeling a little bit better today. 3-2 on the way. And Braun takes strike 3 call. He thought he had the walk. Jerry Meals rings him up. So Batista with 2 fastballs, 3-1 and 3-2. And he gets the call on the outside at the knees.
Well, he's been calling that borderline knee-high strike, and that to me is on the corner. That's way too close. That's knee-high strike. He's looking for a breaking ball, 2 pitches in a row, and didn't get it.
Call by Jerry Meals. 4 strikeouts now for Batista. And now Aramis Ramirez with 2 out and nobody on. It's a breaking ball deep to left center. Overcomes Neuenhuis, looks up and watches it one hop the wall. Ramirez heads for second. Neuenhuis's throw comes in a shade late. And Ramirez has the first extra base hit for either side, a 2-out double.
Well, the first really hanging breaking ball up in the zone that Batista's thrown. He's lucky that Ramirez was a little too quick. Got towards the end of the bat. Otherwise, that would have been up there in the stratosphere.
11th double of the year for Ramirez.
You can see towards just enough on the end of the bat. But that's what you'd call a helicopter hang.
4th hit of the night for Milwaukee, and a chance for Corey Hart with 2 out and a runner in scoring position. Hart has struck out and fouled out to Murphy, 0 for 2.
Hart has left 2 men on base. He is hitting below 200 with runners in scoring position.
And a first pitch slider, 0-1. And with the rookie Taylor Green on deck and first base open, even though Green's a left-hand batter, you have to figure Batista's not going to throw anything particularly hittable to Hart.
Well, it looks like Hart's in pull mode right now.
Yep.
So he's susceptible to that outside pitch.
And Nickias moves away again, and that fastball just missed. Ball and a strike. Brewers as a team hitting just .226 with runners in scoring position. They haven't had too many chances tonight. They've gone 0 for 3. Slider off the plate, 2-1. And Hart swings and fouls back. 2-2.
Got a pitch to hit there.
Yes, he did.
It's the second mistake Batista's made with his slider in this inning.
It's down, but it's over the middle.
Sometimes you get away with them, and sometimes you don't.
Hard to be perfect all the time.
Ramirez at second with 2 out. 2-2 to Hart. And a late swing foul into the Mets dugout. The folks were ducking in a hurry, and Jason Bay, who's already on the disabled list, trying to avoid getting hurt.
Yes.
Additionally.
Don't want a line drive off the rib.
Hit the gum tray.
Yeah, better that than Jason. Ball almost pulled the Zambrano.
No soda machine in there, is there?
Gatorade bucket will have to do. 92 pitches deep. Batista trying to get through the 6th. 2-2 to Hart. In there for a call, strike 3. Hart looking for something else, goes down to the fastball. Batista strikes out Braun and Hart in the inning and keeps it 1-0 New York. Daniel Murphy's driven in the only run in this game. That was in the 1st inning. Now he leads off in the bottom of the 6th against Giovanni Gallardo, who took 99 pitches to get through 5, and his 100th pitch is a call strike. Murphy singled where the shortstop would have been if not for a shift to drive in a run in the 1st. Now that shortstop is right where he hit the ball his first time up. And if this ends up being a 1-0 game, that decision to shift against Murphy will turn out to be enormous.
Well, fastball away, and they're playing him up the middle. No comprende.
That is the only Met hit of the night. And it's the difference in the game. And Lucroy, who has battled with Gallardo all night, takes the brunt of that pitch in the dirt, and it's 1-2. I guess the larger battle has been with Rick Kranitz, the pitching coach, who has been in a rather bad mood since the first pitch of the game. Breaking ball lofted down the left field line and foul. Murphy, Davis, and Cedeno for the Mets. They try to add to their lead in the bottom of the 6th. Now the bullpen is cranking for the Mets. Tim Burdack is up, but if the Mets don't get down to Batista's spot, and he's due up 5th in the inning, you wonder if Batista is going to go out there and try and start the 7th with 93 pitches under his belt. What do you think?
I think why not, but it's interesting he doesn't have his jacket on in the dugout. Usually you would see a pitcher at least with a jacket over his right shoulder, but Batista's a guy that sometimes doesn't ice either. So
yeah, it's different if you have a rubber on.
That's right.
Well, Burdack actually didn't pitch yesterday, which was a story. He had pitched in 6 straight games before yesterday. Murphy socks one toward left center. Over comes Morgan in the gap. He can't get there, and it rolls to the wall. Murphy to second, and he's in standing with the Mets' first extra base hit of the night. A leadoff double.
Well, Murph continues to hit. They want to come inside. I bet you didn't get it there. He sure did. He hung it right down the middle. And that's a ball you can play. You can play with that pitch because it's right down the middle. Either pull it or go the other way. Murph with 2 strikes.
uses left center field.
So the Mets have 2 hits tonight. Murphy has them both. He now has 47 hits, which is 1 more than David Wright for the club lead. And Ike Davis will try and move him along. Bullpen gets going for the Brewers. Right-hander Cameron Lowe, a hard thrower. Davis has struck out and grounded to second, 0 for 2. The Mets will at minimum want him to get Murphy over to third. And Ike drives one to center field, but right at Morgan. Murphy tagging and Murphy heading. Morgan's throw comes toward third base and arrives too late. So Davis with the line drive to center advances Murphy to third with 1 out.
Nice base running. Murph recognizes the ball is going to be caught. He's got Morgan, not a great arm, you can see right there, but he was also backpedaling. Nicely done.
A nice at bat by Ike there. Almost like he was sitting on that breaking ball first pitch from Gallardo.
So Murphy at third with 1 out. The infield comes in. Ronnie Cedeno the batter. We've already seen Ron Renicky attempt to squeeze bunt in this game. Would Terry Collins think about doing the same with Cedeno?
Well, Terry put a squeeze on the road trip.
He put it on with Rob Johnson at the plate. And he does square to bunt, but it was not a suicide squeeze.
That was one where Cedeno was going to try to make a perfect bunt or push that to the right side. I would say, though, with the numbers he's got against Gallardo, swing the bat.
0 for 2 tonight, a strikeout and a ground ball, but he does have 2 home runs against Gallardo in 12 career at bats. And the squeeze is on, and he gets the bunt down. Murphy scores. A successful suicide squeeze bunt for Ronnie Cedeno. And the Mets lead it 2-0.
Well, for Mr. Collins, if you first don't succeed, try again. And that was a beautiful execution right there. And there's just nothing you can do about it.
And you saw how early Murph broke, which is how early you're supposed to break on the suicide squeeze.
I will say, though, set up quite well. The fake bunt on the first pass by Gallardo, first pitch, no intent of bunting it, sets up because no one thinks you're going to bunt twice in a row. And a nice job by Cedeno, who did not square around till late.
Nickias pops it up. Conrad squeezes inside, retired, but the suicide squeeze bunt by Ronnie Cedeno doubles the Mets' lead. Murphy comes in after a leadoff double, and the Mets have a 2-0 lead after 6.
By Cholula Hot Sauce, the flavorful hot sauce with the iconic wooden cap. And by Nissan, get to a Nissan dealer for great deals on innovation you can count on. Innovation for all. That's now with a 2-0 lead as we go to the 7th. And Miguel Batista is still out there working on a shutout. He's allowed just 4 hits. Taylor Green has one of those 4. He leads off in the 7th. It'll be Green, then Brooks Conrad, and Cesar Izturis, 6, 7, and 8 in the Milwaukee batting order. Green singled past a sliding Lucas Duda in the 2nd inning. Ball got behind Duda, and he was charged with an error. There's a strike, and it's 1-1. Bobby Parnell, Tim Burdock staying busy in the Mets bullpen. Batista, when he threw his shutout against the Reds the last day of last season, threw 123 pitches. It's only at 95 tonight. Up and away to Green, 2-1. Jose Veras, the former Yankee, and Marlin is up in the Milwaukee bullpen. Gallardo at 109 pitches. You have to figure he's done. That's Nori Aoki, left-handed bat off the Brewers bench, getting himself loose. And Batista, who's walked only 1 tonight, falls behind 3-1. Well, Gallardo walked 6 tonight, and for the most part, it didn't hurt him. He gave up a walk to Neuenhuis that came back to bite him in the 1st inning. Ripped foul down the right field side. But he was able to work out of a bunch of jams, and ultimately it was Murphy's double and the suicide squeeze that got the extra run off.
Well, he walked 2 in the 1st, Gare, so the walks did bite him.
Just the ones.
He strikes out enough hitters to sometimes get himself out of trouble. Another nice day for Murph so far.
Well, he has the only 2 hits for the Mets, and so far that's been enough for Batista. 3-2 to Green, and he popped one up foul. That'll go out of play.
What's Murph got, a 10-game hitting streak
he's got
now?
a 10-game hitting streak, hitting over 400 over those 10 games.
Probably closer to 500 now.
And he has been a part of both run-scoring innings. He drove in the first Met run in the 1st and scored last inning.
And he's now hitting .336 for the year.
Ooh.
Again, the 3-2, and Green lifts one behind third base. Over comes Cedeno with the angle, calling, and he bumps with Neuenhuis, but Cedeno holds the ball. Well, Wright bailed out. He realized that Ronnie was calling it all the way, but Neuenhuis apparently didn't.
Well, Neuenhuis has got to call it. That's his ball.
I don't think Neuenhuis ever called it, do you?
I don't think so either.
Well, it's hard to know if he called it or not, but remember we talked about it earlier in the game. He was admonished by his manager for not being more aggressive on those plays in the short part of the outfield there.
Well, you have to be aggressive verbally as well as physically. No harm, no foul. Cedeno took the bump from the ex-footballer and is still living to talk about it. 1 out and nobody on. Here's Brooks Conrad, who was struck out and grounded out 0 for 2. Still looking for his first hit of the year, and he takes a strike.
That was nice pitching by Batista, too. Got behind and said, you know what, I have 2-run lead. I'm throwing 2 down the middle. Hopefully he'll pop it up, and he did.
Well, it's a veteran pitcher pitching against a very inexperienced hitter there in Green. Conrad fouls it off. Conrad is known for his bat. He had some very good minor league seasons in the Astros organization. Finally got a chance at a rather advanced age to play with the Braves, and he was Mr. Clutch off the bench for Atlanta there for a couple of years.
He's a better right-hand hitter than left.
Rolls this one to the right side. Murphy was playing deep, comes in to get it, and that's the 2nd out. So Batista rolling right along. Now 2 out and nobody on in the 7th. And Cesar Izturis will be coming up. Izturis has one of the 4 hits for the Brewers tonight, a single to center in the 5th.
Well, I got to think right here that if you're Giovanni Gallardo, if he's going to run him back out there another inning, you're kind of maybe hoping that this guy grounds out or something so you can get back out there in the bottom of the 7th and maybe get a chance for Willie.
I wonder whether Gallardo was
coming back out at 109 pitches. Travis Ishikawa has come out on deck to pinch hit, the former Giant, who's been playing some first base for the Brewers lately. Boy, they have got a lot of backup players on this team, both starting and sitting in the dugout. 1-1 now to Izturis.
The Brewers are suffering from what a lot of teams in baseball suffering from, the depth problem. They lose their best players, not a lot behind them.
1-1 to Izturis, and he fouls it back. Well, you could have said the same thing about the Mets coming to the season, but they have found ways to plug holes for missing pieces, whether it be Nieuwenhuis coming up for Bay, whether it be Nickias and Johnson filling in for Tolle, whether it be Cedeno and Turner filling in at shortstop for Tejada. So far it's working. And then there's the guy on the mound. Well, that's what's missing from the Brewers' middle of the batting order.
He hasn't exactly been tearing it up. Look at that slugging percentage down, home runs down for him, and
little looper into shallow right. On comes Duda. He picks this one off to end the inning. 1-2-3 go the Brewers against Batista in the 7th. Stretch time at Citi Field, and the Mets and Batista up 2-0. Well, Terry Collins couldn't be happier with what he got tonight of Miguel Batista. 7 scoreless innings in his second start since taking Mike Pelfrey's spot in the rotation. 108 pitches, and he kept the Brewers off the board. Jordani Valdespin will bat for him, leading off in the bottom of the 7th against the new Brewers pitcher, Jose Veras.
Well, pitched for the Pirates last year and had a fantastic year. 79 games, 79 strikeouts, a couple of wins for Veras last year with the Bucks.
He came over in the trade that sent Casey McGee to Pittsburgh. And so here's Valdespin to pinch hit. Valdespin has 2 big league hits, a 3-run homer, and then a drag bunt single in the game on Friday. Tim Burdack is up in the bullpen.
Valdespin, when he hit that home run in Philadelphia to win it, he reminded me of Lenny when he came up. He hit one of those early home runs.
Veras so far has just been struggling mightily. Could be wild.
Call strike to Valdespin. Andres Torres and Kirk Nieuwenhuis to follow. So Gallardo goes 6 innings, allows just 2 hits, but he walked 6. Gives up 2 runs, struck out 6, and he's on the short end of a 2-0 score. And Valdespin looking to bunt his way on, bunts and misses. And it's 0-2. Trying to drop it toward third that time with Ramirez playing back.
That's the hard thing for young players. When they square around to drag bunt or push that bunt, they almost invariably always offer at it. You know, they don't know the strike zone to pull that bat back. That would have been a ball there.
Oh, there's
he gets him with a breaking ball, so Valdespin is struck out.
That is not a. I'm sorry, Gare. Go ahead and read it.
Well, we have to head to the studio now, Keith, if that's okay with you, because we're going to check out what's coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night.
I'm watching.
I'm Brian Custer. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night, Game 1 highlights between the Rangers and Devils. Plus, could Phil Jackson be coaching next season? We'll see you later.
Okay, Keith, now you can talk.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Here's Andres Torres 0 for 2 and a walk.
Oh, I remember. That was a wicked slider. That got Valdespin. Valdespin has not seen too many sliders like that in AAA.
Miguel Batista doing the debrief with Dan Warrington after a tremendous performance tonight. 1-1 to Torres with Neuenhuis on deck. Jose Veras, now 31 years old, pitched for the Yankees for parts of 4 years. Cleveland, Florida, last year at Pittsburgh, and now his first year with the Brewers. Grounded down toward first, a foul ball. The Brewers have a terrific closer in John Axford, who had converted 49 straight saves before he finally blew one this past weekend. But the rest of their bullpen has been rather shaky, including Frankie Rodriguez, who has struggled in the 8th inning.
I see a lot of high earned run averages up here coming out of that pen.
It's an oft-told tale, isn't it? I mean, how many teams can say the same thing?
Yeah.
It's fascinating because you look at the Mets road trip that just ended, and there's a lot of temptation to say, well, you know, the Mets should have won all 6 games because they had leads late in 2 of the games in Miami. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of the leads the Mets had late were against other teams' struggling bullpens. And that's really, you know, the problem for so many organizations right now.
It became a game of how many are you going to score against ours against how many are you going to score against theirs.
There's Axford. 3-2 to Torres, who's already drawn a walk tonight. And he hits this one out to left field, where Braun steadies and grabs it for the second out. So 2 out and nobody else. Take a drive around the majors. Presented by Nissan. Bryce Harper, first big league home run. And the Nats have gone back in front of the Padres 6-5 in the 7th. Joe Blanton, a fine effort tonight. And the Phillies are up 3-1 on the Astros in the bottom of the 8th. And we were talking about Prince Fielder and his struggling Tigers. 2 RBIs for Fielder tonight. And a 5-2 Detroit lead over the White Sox in the 4th. There's K-Rod.
And he's been struggling. His ERA over 5. K-Rod. He's lost 3 ball games.
Neuenhuis grounds one down toward first, and Green's got it, so it's a 1-2-3 inning for Jose Veras in the bottom of the 7th. Mets will go to the bullpen for the 8th after 7 strong from Batista. 2-0 New York. endorsing pretzels after making that last catch. Here's Tim Burdack pitching for the 7th time in the last 8 games.
Well, it's interesting today when you had the scrum with Terry Collins, and someone asked, do you think Burdack could maybe close games? He said, if I had Tim Burdack closing games, he'd be dead by July. So well, here he is in the 8th.
He pitches every day, but he's been pitching to one batter at a time. Now, he may get more than one tonight. Nori Aoki will pinch hit for the Brewers leading off. And then you got another left-hand hitter in Niger Morgan, with Bobby Parnell getting ready for the right-hand hitters behind him.
David Wright really in aggressively on the corners, and Neuenhuis, my goodness, he's like, he can't even way down the left field line.
Aoki, 30-year-old rookie, 3-time Japanese Central League batting champion with the Colt Swallows, and he has been a prime pinch hitter for Ron Renicky. 5 for 13 pinch hitting, so he's hitting .385 in that role. And Burdack misses with the slider and falls behind 2-0.
Boy, interesting to watch Aoki as the pitch is about to be delivered. He's got those eyes on David Wright, seeing where he's playing, trying to eyeball if he's going to stay in. If he does, maybe thinking of poking the ball that way.
Here's a fastball for a strike. Renicky considers Aoki his best pinch hitter against left-hand pitchers, even though he's a left-hand batter.
He's right on top of the plate, very close stance. Watch his stride. He strides right in. That's why he hits lefties.
And he slaps one, but David Wright is equal to the task, and he got him. David has just been fielding at a Gold Glove level since this season began, and he makes another sparkling play.
Well, nice play here. This is like an Ichiro style swing here. You're running out of the box. Beautiful play by David.
These are the kind of plays that don't show up in the box score. They are game savers.
Now Ricky Weeks is going to bat for Niger Morgan. Weeks has been sitting out the last couple of days with a sore wrist after being hit by a pitch. And he's not going to get a chance to face the left-hander, so it will be one batter and out for Burdack, and Bobby Parnell will come in and try to finish off the 8th. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Fios. Welcome to America's fastest, most consistent, most reliable internet. Welcome to life on Fios. Bobby Parnell comes in to try and get the final 2 outs in the top of the 8th. Ricky Weeks, the pinch hitter. But a very rough start for Weeks, even before he got hit on the wrist by a pitch.
Well, the number I like the best from Bobby Parnell so far is that 3. Only 3 bases on balls in his 16 innings of work with that fine ERA.
He gave up a couple of hits in his last outing Saturday in Miami, but not a run, and that one knocks Nickies over backwards. We'll get your attention.
That one hit him square in the mask. Boy, right in the middle.
Well, Weeks hasn't been hitting. He's drawn more walks. He's never been a guy that's drawn a lot of walks, but you'd rather have him hitting. You don't want him on the interstate where he's at. I mean, 23 walks on the year. He struck out 41 times.
K-Rod up in the bullpen, getting ready to pitch the bottom of the 8th for the Brewers.
Weeks had a devastating ankle injury last year. And, you know, when they drafted him when he was a 2-time Golden Spike winner in college.
David Wright with an easier play and throws out Weeks 2 away.
He's probably 25 pounds lighter. He's become a different kind of player. He was a guy they thought was going to hit for average and steal a lot of bases.
He looked then more like his brother Jamal Weeks looks now.
You're right.
With Oakland. 2 out and nobody on. Now Jonathan Lucroy, who's 1 for 3. Let's check in with Kevin.
Gary, Terry Collins said Frank Francisco still his closer today. I asked him, Parnell, was he factoring in the decision? And I said, you know, combination of his great year this year and the fact that last year in the closer spot he had a little trouble. And I said, did that factor in the decision of him not being in that role? And he said, you know, it did at this particular time. The one thing I don't want to do is disrupt the entire staff. And maybe if Bobby goes there and doesn't pitch as well, he doesn't pitch effectively in the 7th. I don't want to go 3 weeks down the road and have my entire bullpen in chaos, guys.
Well, for now, Francisco retains the job. But here's the line from Terry that I think is the money quote. Patience may prevail for a short time. Back past Parnell, but Murphy slides over to get it and throws out the slow-footed Lucroy. 1-2-3 go the Brewers in the 8th. To the bottom of the 8th, 2-0 New York. Game in center field for the Brewers. And on the pitch is the former Met Francisco Rodriguez at bat number 1 in the order.
Well, you were talking about him before. We've seen a lot of these guys coming out of the bullpen with high ERAs. You see there some walks and a lot of hits for Frankie. He usually doesn't give up a lot of hits, but still with those 13 Ks.
Mets will have the heart of the batting order looking to add on here in the bottom of the 8th. David Wright, Lucas Duda, and Daniel Murphy. David's 0 for 2 tonight. He's also drawn a walk. David came in hitting an even .400 for the year, so he slipped 7 points tonight. Needs a base hit. to get closer to 400, although it can't get him back to that magic number, at least not in this at bat. Frank Francisco looking to rebound from a lost weekend in Miami, getting ready for a save opportunity in the ninth. David's 1 for 3 in his career against K-Rod. And the curveball outside, a ball and a strike. The Brewers offered arbitration to Francisco Rodriguez, hoping to get a draft pick when he left as a free agent. But with the closer market not quite as lucrative as K-Rod had hoped, he wound up accepting arbitration, and he's with the Brewers on a 1-year, $8 million contract, which is not what the Brewers had in mind. Wright stops the swing 2-1. Sometimes you play that game, you offer arbitration, and you get stuck. However, the rules are changing in the new collective bargaining agreement, and there will no longer be free agents resulting in draft picks. So that scenario, I think, has passed coming into next offseason. Change up in for a strike, and it's 2-2. Duda to follow, Murphy behind him. Mets have only 2 hits tonight, and Murphy owns them both. It's not often you can win a game with only 2 hits. But that's how good Batista was tonight, throwing 7 scoreless innings. And David watches the fastball wide, a full count. Does it only seem as though every Mets at bat this year results in a full count?
Well, what I've always said and I've liked, Gary, and we've talked about it, is that we've seen a lot of teams that try to get deep in accounts to get in the bullpens and lose their aggressiveness. This team has a good eye at the plate. Excuse me. They throw strikes. They're aggressive. They're on it. They don't wait around, but they just don't swing at bad pitches. They got all pretty much collectively have good eyes at the plate.
And you have a David Wright, who over the last few years has swung at a lot of bad pitches, but he's in such a groove right now. He is not. He did in the first inning tonight when he struck out, but that's been a rarity this year.
I just don't. I think with David's new approach, he's not going to go into prolonged slumps this year. If he stays disciplined, what he's doing right now, he stays with it. He's not going to slump for long periods of time, and he's not going to strike out.
Again, the 3-2 from K-Rod, and David drives one down the right field line, headed toward the corner, and he's got himself an extra base hit. David Wright going the other way for his 9th double of the year to start the bottom of the 8th.
Well, they want to continue to pitch him away, particularly with 2 strikes. Well, that had a lot of play. That was down the middle. But David set up to go the other way. You know, he keeps on getting his base hits. He's got an 8-game hitting streak now.
So the Mets with a runner in scoring position and nobody out. And here's Lucas Duda, who's walked twice and flied out to left. So Wright becomes the first Met other than Daniel Murphy to pick up a base hit tonight. Just the Mets' 3rd hit of the game. And Duda takes the curveball for a strike, 0-1. Well, Lucas Duda is at the plate. And Lucas is also the honoree for tomorrow's T-shirt Tuesday. Every Tuesday home game this season, you can get a ticket on the left field landing and a T-shirt. And tomorrow's T-shirt, Dudaism, or if you will, Deuteronomy. So they're getting creative with these T-shirts, I'll say that. And they've done a nice job on these T-shirt Tuesdays, and Duda being honored tomorrow. Ticket to the left field landing and the T-shirt for just $19. 718-507-TIXX, or go to Mets.com for your tickets. K-Rod ahead 0-2 on Duda with Murphy on deck. And Lucas lays off a ball and 2 strikes.
When you watch Frankie Rodriguez pitch, it came with such a whirlwind, didn't he, Gary? Came up late in 2002 with the Anaheim Angels at the time. Pitched in the postseason, went 5-1 as the Anaheim Angels won that title. 18 2/3 innings, 28 punch-outs.
It's hard to have that be the start of your career.
I know, right? Where do you go from there?
It's hard to believe that's 10 years ago now. Here's the 1-2. And it's pulled to the right side. Conrad's got it. But a productive out by Duda moves right over to third. So 1 away. Now Murphy will try and get that extra run in. There's your Verizon Mets box score. Murphy's been front and center. RBI single in the first. Doubled and scored in the 6th. Those are the only 2 runs of the night. Not pictured there. The pitching part of the box score, which has been the key for the Mets tonight, with Miguel Batista turning in 7 scoreless innings. Now Murphy with the infield in will try and build on his big night. A single, a double. Has a 10-game hitting streak going up to 336 on the year.
Well, infield in. I'd be inclined not to pitch to him myself. I know you got a veteran out there that knows what he's doing, but you've got a struggling. There's the infield right there. See the infield in, but you got a red-hot left-hand hitter in Murph, contact hitter, line drive hitter, and you got a young man right there, Ike Davis, who's been striking out and struggling. If you get the ball on the ground, you can turn 2.
And Murph has to jump back from that fastball. A ball and a strike. You know, talking about that Angels team that won the World Series, that was an extraordinary bullpen.
Yes.
I mean, K-Rod was the setup guy for Troy Percival, but they had other guys in that pen who were just terrific that year.
They were just locked down.
Brendan Donnelly, Ben Weber, probably the best year of his career. There's the 1-1. And a stop by Lucroy to keep the runner at third. And that's something you worry about here if you're the Brewers with K-Rod and his tendency to throw balls in the dirt. Lucroy not all that adept at blocking, although he stopped that one. Now at 2-1, Murphy hits the breaking ball foul. And it's 2-2. Old Frankie on the mound, new Frankie in the bullpen. K-Rod needing the strikeout. He's 2-2 on Murphy with a runner at third. And Murphy lays off, and Lucroy battles it to a draw, 3-2.
Well, in some ways, the way that K-Rod pitches now, that's almost an automatic that he threw that for a ball to set up this changeup or breaking pitch on 3-2. Only problem, Taylor Green, the first baseman, way off that line. If it's a breaking pitch, that opens up a lot of that down the line.
Lucroy wants the changeup. 3-2 to Murphy. He hits it to the right side. Wright's coming home. Conrad's throw is low, but picked out by Lucroy. And now Wright will try and stay in the rundown as long as he can. And Wright scores! Ramirez simply dropped the ball. And it's 3-0 New York. How about that? Well, Wright did a great job in Philly staying in a rundown that led to a Met run. This one was more unlikely. Should have been an out. Instead, it's an extra run for the Mets.
Well, number one, Ramirez does 2 things wrong here. Fools him on the changeup. Nice play by the catcher, Lucroy, here on a ball in the dirt. Ramirez just standing on third base. And, you know, I've seen enough of him over the years.
Well, he said he's very talented, but sometimes a little casual.
Listen, the other thing you have to do when you catch that ball, you get it into your right hand, you hold it over your head. You don't have it in your glove and try to make a late transfer. That's first grade.
So on the air, the Mets get an extra run. Now Ike Davis takes a strike.
You just don't stand on the back base when you're running. When they got someone running back to you. You kids out there, close down. By closing down, Ramirez stayed on third. You lengthen out the distance between the rundown. You want to close behind the runner. It's just lazy.
Well, we saw the same thing in Philadelphia when David was in that rundown between first and second.
I mean, there's no Ramirez. He's got to close down. And then that's a fiasco.
And the reason I say you take the ball out of your glove as Murphy's going to proceed to second base is you want your fielder to be able to see the ball so he knows when it's coming, as opposed to having the ball in the glove.
On that play, give assist to the second baseman and the catcher, and an error to Ramirez, allowing the run to come home. A little rain beginning to fall. It's been falling on the Brewers all night. With Murphy at second and one out, K-Rod ahead on Davis 0-2. And Ike takes low and in, 1-2. Looking ahead to the ninth inning, the Brewers will have the heart of their batting order coming up. Braun, Ramirez, and Hart. So Francisco now gets the extra run to work with. He couldn't hold a 1-run lead Friday night, couldn't hold a 2-run lead yesterday. Now he'll have at least a 3-run lead. Here's the 1-2, and it's dribbled foul. Gallardo went the first 6, allowed 2 runs, 2 hits, but walked 6. Veras worked a 1-2-3 7th. K-Rod's allowed a run here in the 8th. Unearned though it might be. 1-2 to Davis, and Ike swings and misses at the fastball. And that's the second out of the inning.
He's just leaning, watch his bat angle, letting go to one hand, out in front again. It's a better angle. We'll see where he's. No, he got thrown by him. So it's very much like golf, Gary. When you open up and you commit too early, you bat lags behind.
Ron Renicky out to talk to K-Rod. Cedeno at the plate. Nickius on deck. They've got the right-hander Tim Dillard up in the bullpen. So was that a don't give Cedeno anything to hit kind of a conversation?
Well, it's not like it's Ty Cobb up there, Gary.
Cedeno did drive in a run with a suicide squeeze bunt in the 6th inning. Otherwise 0 for 2. Mets have only 3 hits tonight, but they've got a 3-0 lead in the 8th. And the curveball from K-Rod for a strike.
That was a good one there. Good breaking ball pitchers get that rotation. See how you make the hitter just stand up just a little bit.
He's always had that great curveball right from the beginning of his career. In fact, he threw it so hard when he first came up, people thought it was a slider.
Yeah. It's always been a curve, though. It just had great rotation. Probably as good as slider. I mean, the only person I saw live that had a slurve like that was David Cohn in his heyday here for the Mets.
About Kerry Wood when he first came up.
Kerry Wood.
That's why he blew his arm out. You can't throw a breaking ball that hard without blowing out your ligaments.
Hook to the right side. Conrad's got it. And that retires the side. But the Mets get an unearned run to build some insurance for Frank Francisco. David Wright a leadoff double. A ground out got him to third. And then when the Brewers should have gotten it out, Ramirez drops the ball. And the Mets lead it 3-0 going to the ninth.
end of this 2-game series. Dylan G goes for the Mets. Zach Greinke pitches for the Brewers. 6:30 the coverage tomorrow night. Mets Brewers right here on SNY. Well, Frank Francisco, off a lost weekend in Miami, was able to keep his job, and here he is with a save opportunity tonight.
Well, what was interesting is that you talked about it before, did not want to really dishevel the entire bullpen. Francisco wanted another shot, probably deserves another shot, brought here to be the closer, has the most experience, time to deliver.
Ryan Braun 0 for 3 tonight, takes off the outside corner for ball 1. Braun, Ramirez, and Hart for the Brewers in the 9th. Milwaukee, no runs and 4 hits. The Mets 3 runs and 3 hits. The Mets looking for their 3rd shutout victory of the year. What's been remarkable is that Francisco has been part of a larger cohort of unsuccessful closers this year than I think we've ever seen since the closer became a staple in baseball.
They're either getting hurt or struggling immensely.
14 teams have had to make changes due to injury or ineffectiveness.
That's nearly half the teams. So that tells you a pretty good story right there. And I think there are a number of theories for it, not the least of which is that you have teams that are better prepared for the closers that they will face in 9th innings now than they ever have been before. 2 losses for Francisco over the weekend. Breaking ball hit right back up the middle, and Braun has his first hit of the night. So Francisco went to the curveball on 1 and 2, and Braun hits it through the originator. See what's coming up on WB Mason Post Game Live. Check in with Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda, guys. Here's Aramis Ramirez. The Brewers need 1 more base runner to get the tying run to the plate in the 9th.
They want Francisco to have more of an assortment for pitches, but he threw 2 fastballs by Braun, went to the breaking ball, sped up his bat. That's, you have to know
good call
to make an assortment.
Good call, Ronnie.
And Francisco, like many hard-throwing closers, not a great fielder. Runner goes, and the throw by Nikias is too late, but they're going to give Braun a stolen base, but it's the 9th inning and they're down by 3 runs. You better make it. The only reason they give him a stolen base is because Nikias threw it. Normally that's defensive indifference. In any event, 6 stolen base for Braun. That takes the double play out of order. 1-1 to Ramirez, and he hits a sharp ground ball, but right at Cedeno. Braun holds, 1 out. So Ramirez, after making the error in the bottom of the 8th that tacked on a Met run, unable to redeem himself. And here's Corey Hart, who's 0 for 3 today and has struck out twice.
Very nice by Francisco there. Ball down, sinking action, gets his ground ball.
Hart hits it sharply. That's through the hole for a base hit. Braun being waved around 3rd, and he'll come in to score as the throw goes to 2nd. It's an RBI single for Corey Hart, but most importantly, it allows the Brewers to bring the tying run to the plate. It's now a 3-1 game. And so Francisco's difficulties continue. Now the question is, how patient will Terry Collins be within this inning with Frank Francisco? He pulled him with the lead yesterday. Remember, the Mets were still up 4-3 when Francisco left the game in favor of Manny Acosta.
How big is that a gift run as Roush is going to get up and I think with some urgency? How big is that run last inning?
Huge.
So here's Taylor Green, who's 1 for 3 on the day. He's the tying run at the plate in a 3-1 game. And Green takes ball 1. Green hit 22 home runs in the minors last year, but he does not have a major league home run. Brooks Conrad, a switch hitter.
waiting on deck. Hart with pretty good speed at first and 1 out. And Green takes up and away, 2-0. Francisco not only failed on the mound yesterday, but also got ejected from the game after he had already been pulled for arguing balls and strikes in Miami with Todd Tichenor, the home plate umpire. Well inside and low, and now it's 3-0.
Interesting split finger there on the 2-0 pitch there from Francisco.
Well,
I don't know how much more of this Terry can watch without making a move.
Well, to me right here, what's that, a splitter, Ronnie?
Yeah, splitter 2-0.
So not having the confidence to throw his fastball, 2-0.
Now it's 3-0 to the rookie Green. He's got to be taking a pitch, and he does. 3-1. Well, Roush, who already has a save to his credit this year, might be called upon unless Francisco can right the ship quickly. Cameron Lowe up in the Milwaukee bullpen.
It's a funny thing with closers. Most of them, when they're going well, they have such a swagger to them. They come on the mound. That swagger alone gets them through the inning. And when they've gone through a hard patch, the other team can sense that too.
Well, it was one of the things the Miami players were saying yesterday. Once Francisco lost his composure, they said they knew they had him.
Yeah.
3-1 now to Green. And he swings and misses at the fastball. 95 from Frankie. It's 3-2.
Well, he does not get cheated, and he's got to keep it upstairs. He's a low ball hitter. Look at his swing. He is looking for he's a definite low ball hitter. You can bust him upstairs. You throw him down the knees, it's right into his strength.
Davis playing behind hard at first. That run means nothing. Only guy who matters is at the plate. 3-2 to Taylor Green. Ball 4, and now the tying runs are on. 2 singles and a walk. A run is in. Tying runs on base with 1 out.
Close pitch, not going Francisco's way.
Well, the fact that Nicky has had to reach for it like that, I'm sure did not help him. Jerry Meals calling it ball 4. No move yet by Terry. He's got Roush throwing in the bullpen. Francisco will get at least one more batter with Brooks Conrad. And we mentioned earlier the number of big late inning hits Conrad had as a Brave. He's looking for his first hit of this season. And he swings at the high fastball, 0-1. Conrad tonight has struck out and grounded out twice. He's 0 for 14 to begin the year. George Gutierrez has come out on deck to bat for Cesar Izturis. Oh, and 1 to Conrad. And the curveball misses. 1-1.
It's not getting his secondary pitches over, Ronnie. And then he gets that, he has to come in with that fastball. And he doesn't locate it. That's where he's been getting hurt.
You've got to be able to double up, or on a fastball count here where Conrad is anticipating, you can throw that split finger. Keep it down. Ground ball pitch.
And he gets the splitter over for a strike. And now it's 1-2. Infield hoping to get a ground ball to work with from Conrad. Francisco ahead 1-2. And a look back at Hart, whose run means absolutely nothing.
That's got to be a nervous kind of tick from a reliever. No reason to even contemplate Hart at second base. All the focus 60 feet away.
1-2. Strike 3 call. Conrad down looking, 2 out in the ninth.
Well, this is right down the pipe. This is, they want it upstairs. It's right down the middle. That's a pitch to rip.
So now 2 out and 2 on, and the backup catcher George Gutierrez will be the pinch hitter. Gutierrez has been very effective at the plate. Hard at second, Green the tying run at first. Gutierrez is 3 for 7 as a pinch hitter this year, including a pinch hit home run.
He's a good fastball hitter too.
Two out and 2 on, top of the 9th. Gutierrez takes a fastball off the plate for ball 1. Nori Aoki, who came in the game as a pinch hitter, is batting 9th in the order, now playing center field. He would be next.
Well, he's 8 for 26 against right-handers. Gutierrez with 3 home runs. He's got pop.
Murphy playing very deep at second base. Gutierrez swings and misses. A ball and a strike.
Very effective with that fastball up in the strike zone for these left-handed hitters.
He's got to stay upstairs, Ronnie. Yep. These are low ball hitters.
See where Murph's playing on the outfield grass, with the infield pulled a bit to the right against Gutierrez. Now Francisco with a 1-1. And he misses with that split, but not by much. 2-1.
I like that pitch. Jerry Meals could have called that.
You have to wonder,
yes,
after what happened yesterday, whether Francisco is getting tested a little bit.
Whether the unconscious mind.
The umpires watch the sports highlight shows too.
Here's the 2-1 to Gutierrez, and he drives one to right center field. Back in the gap, over comes Duda, makes the catch, and the ball game is over. Frank Francisco staggers to the finish, but he gets the save for Miguel Batista, and the Mets take the opener of their series. A big game for Batista, a big game for Daniel Murphy, and the Mets win it 3-1.
Well, the Mets today didn't get a lot of hits. They were out hit 6-3, but they made them count. They got a gift run in the 8th on the air by Ramirez, but Daniel Murphy extends his hitting streak to 8 games. David Wright got a hit, extended his hitting streak to 10, and Murph scored a run, drove in a run, and was indirectly involved in the 3rd run with the ground ball to third base.
And great job by Miguel Batista with 7 shutout innings, and the happiest guy on the field other than Terry Collins has to be Frank Francisco.
Well, Francisco wasn't great, but he was good enough to get the job done in the 9th, giving up just the 1 run. Francisco gets his 9th save of the year, but Batista, 7 scoreless innings, allowed just 4 hits, walked only 1, struck out 5. As we look at the Hyundai game summary, Daniel Murphy with the big game had the first 2 hits for the Mets, drove 1 in, scored 1, and the Mets now back to 5 games over 500 with the 3-1 win over the Brewers. Mets win it 3-1. They'll go for the sweep of this 2-game series tomorrow, and we'll come back with more from Citi Field. 3-1 the final. Back in just a moment.